on the board, and you have a chance to win all 4. At the end of the game, we will light up the 4 blue windows, and in one it will say bonus. If you have won the prize beside the window in which it says bonus, guess what?
I win.
You win what?
The bonus thing.
The bonus prize. You know what it is?
Yeah.
Are you curious?
Yeah.
Let's show Deborah the bonus prize.
A new jukebox. The Sapphire 7 jukebox. The music starts and the action begins with all that glitter from Rowe, one of the world's largest manufacturers of jukeboxes. It's a bonus worth $3,143.
I wonder, you know, we get more mail about the jukebox prize on The Price is Right. I wonder why the men are always writing and saying, give away more jukeboxes. That's what they like. Okay, you can win that jukebox, but I'm going to give you a first whack at bakeware. John, tell her about that bakeware.
Right, Bob, is Silverstone on steel bakeware. Easier food removal, faster cleanup. Silverstone on steel by Bake King. The crowning touch on bakeware today.
It's not $22. Is it higher or lower?
It's lower.
You say it is lower, and I say you are wrong. It's higher. You don't win that. Maybe you'll win a skirt. John?
Fire Island is sportswear, celebrating 50 years of style for the woman who knows fashion and demands quality.
Higher or lower than $19?
I say higher.
Higher? I'll bet you're right. Sure, it's $28. You can't buy anything for $19 anymore. John, we want to know about that blender.
Right, it's Hamilton Beach's 14-speed blender plus with high-low switch plus 3 blend, store, and serve containers. Fingertip speed control from Hamilton Beach Scoville.
Higher or lower?
Lower.
If she hadn't said lower, I think you would have thrown things at her. You're getting vicious. She says lower. You're right. You win that. Okay, we're going to talk about a toy now, aren't we, John?
Excitement from Kid Tech, the little burrow battery-powered riding toy. We put fun on wheels. Kid Tech by Headstrong.
Higher or lower than $72?
Lower.
You say it's lower, and you are wrong. That goes back. Now, we've had nothing but winners on The Price is Right. We have had 4 winners in a row, and I want another. Light up that bonus. I have another winner. You win that bonus. That jukebox is yours. Janice will teach you to dance. We'll play another pricing game after we do a little business with you.
Senator Collins supports and advocates for more funding for cancer research so that people can have better treatments, better outcomes, and live better lives as cancer survivors. Thank you, Senator Collins. Continue fighting for our families.
The new Center Maine Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust. Track how the weather will impact your day. Breaking news, live from the scene. All the news you need. New Center Maine Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free.
All right, we have to work with marketing, IT, and ops.
Working across teams is tough. Asana helps you handle it. AI can spot roadblocks, so everything stays on track. That's how work gets handled. That's Asana.
Wait. Does anything keep them from coming back?
Roundup dual action.
Does that say prevents weeds for up to 4 months?
Mm-hmm.
So it keeps working and I can relax?
That's the point.
Does this stuff work for 4 months? I'm just gonna go to the store now. There you go.
Kill and prevent weeds for up to 4 months with Roundup Dual Action. Roundup, this stuff works.
Fresh vines perfectly picked for you. Now and new at Target.
Are you Marsha?
I am.
Thanks for meeting me here. Usually not an interweb dating guy. Barely ever use this phone computer. Unless it's to bundle my insurance with Liberty.
Oh, same. I hate this thing, but it's true. You can save hundreds bundling with Liberty.
Liberty?
Liberty?
Liberty. Are you hungry?
Mm-hmm.
Let's get some lasagna.
And some pingaroos.
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty. John, what is... Well, I assume that's for me, and I thank you very much. John, what is the next name on your list?
Bob, is Grace Morgan. Come on down. You're the next contestant on The Price is Right.
down, Grace. Get into contestant's row there. How are you, Grace?
I'm fine, thank you.
Anything you'd like to talk about before we go on here and play another pricing game?
What would you like to know?
Well, I'm always asking questions. Do you have any questions you'd like to ask?
Well, are you married?
Let's go on. Here is the next item up for bids.
Is a wood-burning stove. Blaze King's catalytic wood stoves cut air pollution, reduce creosote buildup, and release more heat from every pound of wood you burn. From Blaze King.
Grace, I'm going to give you the first bid on that.
$750.
$750. Lori?
$780.
$780. Camille.
What were their bids?
The bids are $750 and $780. That's why you're not doing well. You're not listening, Camille. Camille, what do you bid? Camille, what do you bid? All over the country, people are saying, will she ever bid?
What were they again?
What do you say?
What were the bids? One more time.
$750 and $780.
$800.
$800, James.
$550.
$550. Actual retail price, $950. Camille wins, believe it or not. You're in the presence of a miracle. You bet. All right, now, what do we have to offer Camille?
A new car! The Dodge Shelby Charger combines exciting front-wheel drive performance with excellent fuel economy and affordable price. Features high-performance 2.2-liter transport overhead cam engine, plus these options: California emission and light group. Okay, Bob?
And we walked back here and Camille said, oh, I love this game, didn't you?
No.
What did you say?
I hate it.
You hate this game. I thought that's what you said. And the numbers are in the price of the car: 3, 8, 1, and 7. 3, 8, 1, and 7. And there go the 3 strikes into the bag. Mix them all up, draw a number, and tell me where it goes in the price of the car. Go, Camille. Pull out a number, Camille. We want a number out of that bag, Camille. That's what we want, Camille. What do you have there? Oh, strike 1 on Camille. Strike 1 on Camille. Don't do that again. Get a number out there. Reach in. Pull out a number, Camille. It's a number you want. Get a number, Camille. And strike 2 on Camille. The bag is full of numbers, and all she's doing is pulling out strikes. One more strike, and you're out. 3 strikes, and you're out.
On the
Don't do it.
earbuds or your TV?
It's 1. First, second, third, or fourth number of the price of the car.
8, 7.
Where does it go, Camille?
Say 4.
She says 4. She's right. She has a number lighted up now. Now I'll get a number out of that bag. Another number. And in her hand is the 8. First number is an 8. And she has another number lighted up. Let's get those next 2 numbers. Come on, Camille. Let's get that thing out of there while you're hot. And she has the 3. Third number is a 3. Oh, Camille, you're making no mistakes now. One more number now. One more number. Think positively. One more number. One more time. Oh, Camille. I'm sorry, but thank you for playing 3 strikes. Showcase Showdown number 2 after these words.
Fantastic's not appearing on stage. We'll receive Newell's adjustable signs at home vertical blinds designed to fit right into your decorating needs, giving your windows a custom look at ready-made prices from Newell Window Furnishing. And Ronald the Rug Doctor, improved seat carpet cleaner with a vibrating brush, removes deep down dirt from carpets. Rug Doctor, steamy pad of dirt. Also, an assortment of Ambush, a modern floral fantasy rich with excitement, as lovely and surprising as an unexpected bouquet. Ambush, the fragrance for romance. And now again is Bob Barker with our Showcase Showdown.
I thank you, Mr. Olson. Today on The Price is Right, we have done good. We really have. We had our first game, winner. Second game, winner. Third game, winner. Fourth game, a winner. Fifth game, a winner. Sixth game, we... You're the first contestant to ever... No, I had one punch me in the stomach one time. For no reason at all. I hadn't even said anything. But what did you hit me with? What do you have there?
Mouse.
A mouse?
Hard.
Well, whose mouse is it?
My mother's.
Your mother's mouse.
Something to hang on to.
Well, I'm so sorry that the mouse didn't bring you luck in the 3 strikes game, but the little mousey may help you win some money on the big wheel. That's right. Now, the contestant nearest to $1 without going over is in the showcase. Okay? Step over there, Camille.
Okay.
Mousey in hand. What's the little mousey's name?
It doesn't have a name.
It doesn't have a name? The no-name mousey.
Just one-eyed Jack.
What? One-eyed Jack. It has a little button there for an eye, and one eye's gone. All right. The no-name mouse will help. What's the matter?
Oh,
All right. Go ahead. Now, yeah, you pull down. That's right. Here she goes. First spin of the second showcase. Showdown contestant. Nearest to $1 without going over in the showcase. Get $1. We'll give you $1,000 to bonus spin for as much as $10,000 more. It looks like a quarter to me. Now, don't hit the wheel with that mouse. No, that's... Now, if you have a quarter, you want to spin again?
Yes.
Go ahead. I don't think that's a mouse. I think it's a blackjack, the way you use it. Spin it hard. 25 cents. There went the 75. Here it comes up. Here comes the 75. There it goes. 25 and 65 is a good score. 25 and 10 is not so hot. 35 cents. Take your place right over there. Camille. Okay, Letitia. Are you ready, my child? Spin that wheel. Try to beat 35 cents. Letitia, I do believe you have 85 cents. I'm wrong, as usual. No, I'm right. 85 cents. You don't want to spend any more, do you? No. Letitia is the leader now with 85 cents. And we have Deborah to spin. And Deborah, you must beat 85 cents to get into the showcase. Someone is crying $1 at the top of her voice. She wants to borrow money. 85 cents is what she's trying to beat, and she's going to have to use another spin to do it because she has 20. Go. 20 cents. Here is her second spin. 20 cents plus what? Trying to beat 85. She has 20. And I don't see anything that can happen now that is good. Thank you, Deborah, for being with us. Letitia, you have won the second showcase showdown and thereby won a spot in our showcase, which will follow on the heels of this announcement.
More bids, more busts, and more Bob. The Price is Right, the Barker era continues right here. Stay tuned.
Zepbound? Watch this. When I'm not feeling stuck losing the pounds, only to gain them back again. Zepbound helps adults with obesity lose weight and keep it off.
Watch this.
People taking it lost up to 48 pounds. In a study, people using Zepbound lost an average of 50 pounds compared to an average of 33 pounds with the Wegovy injection.
Watch this.
Don't share needles or pens or reuse needles. Don't take if allergic to it or if you or someone in your family had MTC or MEN2. Tell your doctor if you get a lump or swelling in your neck. Stop Zepbound and call your doctor if you have severe stomach pain or a serious allergic reaction. Severe side effects may include inflamed pancreas or gallbladder problems. Tell your doctor if you experience vision changes, depression or suicidal thoughts before scheduled procedures with anesthesia. If you're nursing, pregnant, plan to be, or taking birth control pills. Taking Zepbound with a sulfonylurea or insulin may cause low blood sugar. Side effects include nausea, diarrhea, and vomiting, which can cause dehydration and worsen kidney problems. Ask your doctor about Zepbound.
Watch this.
Los bebés nunca paran y detrás de cada uno de ellos están fabricando este 60 imparable con un ajuste hasta 100% a prueba de derrames, porque son Pampers detrás de cada bebé. Ahora con nuevas tiras elásticas y see-off.
Dirt. It's dirt. Better to say dirt. Yeah, that doesn't sound so dirty.
Well, Damon, you sat around home there wishing you could be a contestant on The Price is Right. You finally came to CBS, and look where you ended up. Top winner in the showcase.
I believe it.
Well, it's true. Here you
Unbelievable.
are. And Letitia, you're the runner-up in the showcase today. Now, each of you will have a showcase of beautiful prizes to bid on, and the one of you who bids closer to the actual retail price of your own showcase without going over
it's
winner.
happening.
But Damon, do you know what happens?
People
if you're
are
the
more
winner
apt
and
to
you're
say
less
it
than
when it's
$100 away
something
from the retail price of your own showcase?
that's really
What
there
happens?
happening. Unbelievable.
You got it. You got them both. That happened just the other day. And we've had a good day today. We've had 5 out of 6 winners. It could happen again today. Now, Damon, you look at this first showcase, and if you wish, bid on it. If not, pass it to Letitia.
Right, it could be something good or bad, right? The same word to
Your showcase is
describe.
filled with prizes that are real smooth.
Wow, that was unbelievable.
And your first prize
They just did like
is a
5
real smooth
flips.
drinks
That was
called
cool.
Smoothies. It's this new blender.
Right, now whether it's back flips, right? Back flips. I mean, that's
Vitamin
cool.
stainless steel 3-minute
Wow, that was
bread maker, home yogurt
unbelievable.
factory, juices without waste, cooks without
They just
burning,
won a
freezes
gold
instant
medal.
ice cream, and offers 800
Unbelievable.
other recipes. And after your
Right, see how it could
smooth
be
drink,
associated
it can
to
be a real
something,
smooth
bad
dancer
too, right?
with
When you
music played
hear
off.
horrific
It's
things that are just hard to fathom. Unbelievable. It's the same word.
For your listening pleasure, this Panasonic Systematic Stereo System with AM/FM stereo tuner, cassette deck, stylish turntable in the drawer, and matching tower design speakers from Panasonic. Well, so much for drinking and dancing. Now let's get serious. The ultimate smooth can only be one thing, the smooth ride found in your new car. The high-performance Oldsmobile Hearst automobile comes equipped with Hearst package, 8-cylinder engine, power steering, power brakes, and all the other standard equipment plus these options. Power windows, power locks, power seats, AM/FM cassette, power antenna, air conditioning, cruise control, tilt steering wheel, rear window defogger, remote control mirrors, heavy-duty cooling, tinted windows, intermittent wiper system, and California emission. And this showcase filled with prizes that are real smooth can be yours if the price is right.
They just can't keep their little dancing feet still today, can they? Damon, are you going to bid on that, or are you going to pass it over to Letitia?
What kind of car is it?
What kind of a car is it? John, what kind of a car was that again?
Bob, it's an Oldsmobile Hearst automobile.
You're going to bid? If it had been anything less than that, you would have passed it, huh? Okay. What do you bid, Damon? $10,000 each. His bid is $10,000, and Letitia, look at your showcase.
Your showcase begins with this lovely dollhouse. This elaborate dollhouse is 35 inches high and 46 inches long with 9 rooms, all wallpapered. Comes also with a big porch, a beautiful house for your dolls. And take a look into the dollhouse dining room, and you'll discover this charming dining room group. Elegant solid oak memory dining furniture by Keller. Exclusive armor guard high pressure laminate top protect against spills. It's more than just dining furniture, it's Keller. And for an elegant table, there's dinnerware. From Global of West Germany, manufacturer of world-famous porcelain dinnerware goes from freezer to oven to table. A complete service for 8 in the beautiful Burgund pattern from Hummelware. And now let's take a peek into another window and find appliances for your kitchen. A Whirlpool appliance kitchen featuring a no-frost French door refrigerator with power-saving control switch, porcelain steel interior, and no fingerprint texture steel doors. Portable, convertible, or under-counter dishwasher with Durafirm door, super scour cycle, and exclusive in-the-door silverware basket. And an electric range with lift-up spill guard cooktop for easy cleaning, digital meal timer clock, black glass panoramic oven door from the Whirlpool Corporation. And this showcase can be yours if the price is right.
Well, Letitia, how about it?
$5,600.
$5,600 is her bid, And right after this message, Johnny will repeat the address for the home viewer, Home for Christmas Showcase, so don't you go away. $10,000 on your showcase, and the actual retail price is $15,592, a difference of $5,592. Letitia's bid is $5,600. Actual retail price of her showcase, $6,736. You win. The difference of $1,136. Letitia, you did it. Congratulations. I think I'd like to take you over there and show you all those nice prizes. Would you like to go? Bob Barker is reminding you to help control the pet population. Have your pets spayed or neutered. Goodbye, everybody.
And medicate and vaccinate your children, because those things walk around and poop and shit and eat dead animals. We don't want them to get treated. It's so true. Well, that's why they remember the term. It's an indoor pet. It's okay. It's an indoor pet. It doesn't eat dead birds. It's okay. It's had its shots. The kids have had its shots. It's okay. We have air purifiers, reverse osmosis water. It's okay. Fucking freaks. Yeah. Oh, gee. Yeah. Why do we say that? Oh, geez. Oh, geez. We've done that one a few times. Yeah, like look up the origin of where the term oh geez, J-E-E-Z comes from. Oh geez.
Come on down. Come on down! Gale 5! Come on down!
And other
Come on down! You are the first four contestants on The Price is Right! And now here's the star of The Price is Right!
Yes, do what we do, yes. For now. I might go pee in a minute. I might, possibly. Probably, yes. Inevitably.
Thank you very much. Now, if you have been watching our show this week and you think you have that Home for Christmas showcase all figured out, we're going to give you one last look at it today. This is the last time you'll see the Home for Christmas showcase, so get your pencil and paper ready. We're not going to do it right now. Not right now. This is the first item up for bids, and the price is right.
It's a mahogany desk. A touch of a master craftsman is evident in this mahogany finished desk. Comes with 7 drawers, a black leather top, a beautiful addition to any room.
What do you bid on the lamps on the floor up there, Teresa? No, what do you bid on the whole thing? What do you bid on the desk? $600. Pamela?
3 1/4.
$325, Gail.
$625.
Her bid is $625, and Naomi? $700. Actual retail price $758. did you hear me mention that Home for Christmas showcase? You know, that's the home viewer showcase that we have every year. You're going to get your bid in, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
You're going to get your last look at it today. You understand that, Naomi? But I have something else I'd like to show you. Okay?
Okay.
Another prize.
Okay.
You like winning prizes?
Sure, I sure do.
Well, I'd like to have her see something kind of nice. Just bring it out here, will you, please?
A new car! Pontiac's front-wheel drive Phoenix sports a new look. Crisp, clean, and refined, featuring an electronic fuel-injected four-cylinder engine. It's from Pontiac. It comes with California emission, white wall tires, tinted glass, and AM/FM radio. Okay, Bob?
I would like to have you take a look at the Lucky 7 board over there, and I'd like to have you take these 7 $1 bills, and if you have one left at the end of the game, I'll sell you the car for that $1. Cost you $1 every number you miss, the numbers in the price here, as you probably, you know how to play this game, don't you?
Okay.
All right, what's the first number in the price?
A 7.
She says 7, and I say open the door. I say you're right. What's the next number?
4.
She says 4, I say open the door. Well, that's going to cost you a couple of bucks. There you go. I want the third number, the price of the car, if you please, Naomi.
5.
Number 5. Is she right? Cost you a couple more. Okay, you have $3 left. You can miss it as much as 2, one way or the other. What is the last number in the price of the car?
5.
She says 5. How about it? Oh, that cost you all $3. You don't have $1 left to buy the car. Naomi, I'm sorry you didn't win. Bye-bye. Maybe our next contestant will win after these words. Who's next, John?
Bob, it's going to be Margie Bouquet. Come on down. You're the next contestant of The Price is Right.
Hi, Margie. I welcome you to Contestants Row. Now, we have the next item up for bids right over here.
It's a ceiling fan light. The beautiful, efficient Saratoga fan features variable speeds, reversible motor, 52-inch blades, tulip shades, etched center globe, and antique brass finish by Fan Company of America.
Margie, I await your bid.
$450.
$450. Teresa?
$370.
She says $370. What do you think, Pamela?
Four and a quarter.
$425. Okay, Gail.
$475.
$475. Actual retail price $699. Winner, Gail. Thank you. Now, Gail, go right up there, will you please? Because what we want you to win is right over here.
A charming bedroom group. Albemarle by Bassett. This romantic furniture features a door chest, a dresser with a landscape pillow and mirror, 4-poster bed and nightstand in a colonial cherry finish. And for that look of elegance, this bedding ensemble. A fashionable Dakota bedroom ensemble. Beautiful bedspread, pillow stand, and decorative pillows designed in contemporary applique graphics, uniquely Dakota. And for a comfortable night's sleep, this mattress set, the Dream Maker from Bassett, gives just the right combination of firm support and soothing softness, covered with golden glow satin fabric for exotic elegance. It's from Bassett. And it's a prize package worth $2,899.
There are 6 products here. 3 sets of 2 each that have the same price. You pick a pair of products that have the same price and you win a prize. Now, John, will you tell her about the products, please?
A pleasure, Bob, first. Pearl Drops Tooth Polish. What a special stain removal formula invented by a dentist to help keep teeth their whitest. Cella's chocolate-covered cherries. Pure chocolate shell, luscious real fruit cherry, and 100% liquid center. Cella's chocolate-covered cherries. For hearty homemade soup, serve your family soup starter tonight. Just add meat, simmer, and stir. Soup starter, all the fixings for great homemade soup. Tony's Italian pastry pizza's layered crust. It's crisp on the outside, tender on the inside, only from Tony's. Trust Listerine. Listerine is strong to give you clean bread to last hours. Listerine antiseptic kills the germs that can cause bad bread. And Wheatina, the toasted high-fiber all-wheat cereal. Wheatina, a hot breakfast favorite.
A pair of products that have the same price. Where do we start?
The Listerine.
With the Listerine, okay. We'll take that Listerine, find out how much that Listerine is, and then you pick out another product that has the same price, and we'll give you the prize. It is $1.69. $1.69 is what you want. Pick another product that's $1.69.
I'm gonna go with pizza.
The pizza. The audience is saying pizza, you say pizza, and I say wrong, wrong. The pizza is $2.19. Now, I'll give you a chance to pick another product that's $1.69 or a product that is $2.16? $2.19. That's $2.19. Now, which one do you want to go with? The one that's $2.19 or the one that's $1.69? You're going to have to decide which you're going to try for first.
The $1.69.
Okay, let's take the pizza out of there. I'm glad, because they can't get the $2.19 to work. Now, pick one that's $1.69.
The soup starter.
She says soup starter. Oh. Now, are you so sure? Are you so sure as all that? Let's see. Yeah, you're right. It's $1.29. What was $1.69? What? The cereal, is that $1.69? No, no. How about the tooth polish? No, no. Well, yeah, some say yes. Candy, you think that's it? Well, it'll stop if it is. No, that's not it either. Well, what is $1.69? What are you guys doing back there? Are they watching another show, I think? Well, what is $1.69? Isn't there anything else $1.69 on this? It's the candy. Well, it's supposed to stop here. Now stop it. There you go. I tell you, you just can't get good help anymore. $1.69. There you are. Gail, thank you. That could be a whole new series. Pick a pair. Just try to. We'll be back after this message. John, what's the next name on your list?
5 is Daniel Gallery. Come on down. You're the next contestant on The Price is Right.
Hello, Daniel. Where do you live?
San Diego.
What do you do?
Work in a sheet metal shop.
I'll listen to the applause at the mention of San Diego, will you? What did you say you do?
I work in a sheet metal shop.
And you see Price is Right occasionally?
Whenever I can get out of work.
Don't we all? Okay, let's show them the next item up for bids. I think it's on the train.
And it's a microwave oven. Samsung's versatile 1.25 cubic foot programmable microwave oven with touch control and 4 cooking stages. Quality, technology, and service in fine electronics from Samsung. And to the winner of this microwave goes an assortment of trim borders. Flare trim decorative borders for painted walls. Now you can turn any painted room into a showcase inexpensively.
Daniel, what do you bid on that?
$415.
$415. Margie?
$515.
$515. Teresa?
$250.
$250, and Pamela says
$516.
$516. And I say the actual retail price is $450. The winner is Daniel. Daniel is about to play a pricing game. That's what Daniel is about to do. Right over here. Now, Daniel, I am hopeful of giving you this.
A new sofa, chair, and ottoman. From Null Furniture, a 3-piece contemporary living room group with hand-tied frames, luxurious seating, and durable old-pin fabrics. Quality furniture by Null.
And we are about to play Squeeze Play. May we have that game around here? Here it comes, and I am going to point out that this first number here, that 1, is the first number in the price of that prize, and that 6 down there is the last number in the price of that prize. Now you are to tell me whether I should remove the 6, the 4, or the 2. I'll take it out, the remaining numbers will squeeze together. If that's the price, you own the furniture.
The 2.
The 2 is gone. He believes that price is $1,646, and I do indeed hope that he is right. And he is right. You are a winner. Well done, Daniel. Congratulations. Showcase Showdown #1 after these words. I love The Price is Right. We love to hear that.
Their shirts say it all.
I'll bid for Bob. You're not bidding for Bob.
But sometimes you just have to ask.
Now, I have seen strange shirts in my time.
What are you wearing?
You 4 have got to stick together, because walking with "is" on your chest is ridiculous.
What will they wear next on The Price is Right, the Barker era? Watch now.
Senator Collins supports and advocates for more funding for cancer research so that people can have better treatments, better outcomes, and live better lives as cancer survivors. Thank you, Senator Collins. Continue fighting for our families.
The News Center Maine Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust. Track how the weather will impact your day. Breaking news, live from the scene. All the news you need. News Center Maine Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free.
All right, we have to work with marketing, IT, and ops.
Working across teams is tough. Asana helps you handle it. AI can spot roadblocks, so everything stays on track. That's how work gets handled. That's Asana.
Senator Collins supports and advocates for more funding for cancer research so that people can have better treatments, better outcomes, and live better lives as cancer survivors. Thank you, Senator Collins. Continue fighting for our families.
With Base 44, a simple sentence becomes your website. Page after page, ready for business.
Well, yeah, and in turn, hopefully that'll get those that
they
are
didn't
aware
fight, die,
of
and risk
treatment
everything.
options and things like
So
that.
the University of Michigan
Across the board, you know, and having
select
those options
somebody
available
whose
and not
principal qualification
forcing,
was that he
almost
hated Jews.
enslaving people into.
And he was
Yeah, I know, when you
pro-ISIS
look at
and
it, this has
Hezbollah
been
and the whole
discussed for
bunch,
decades,
and was
so
not
I'm
shy
not going
about
to
it.
get into that with you at the moment.
So why I always think that
Just go over to
given our
that class
ethos, that a
they're
person
already
comes
like,
from a
what's
different
up?
country, if he
So they're well
qualifies for
versed.
citizenship,
Just go over there and they'll
he or
explain
she,
it to you.
if he's a citizen, then they have as much right as somebody, you know, that I've been here, you know, on my mother's side from the 20s. My father's from 1870, 80. But my point is,
I know,
they are just as much American. But that being said, if you do come over here and then when you arrive and you go full Ilhan Omar and you call it a trashy country and a dictatorship, then that allows people who have been living here to say to them, we didn't die on Iwo Jima, we didn't die at Belleau Wood, we didn't die at Gettysburg for you to come over here and tell us that we're no good. And we're not going to take it. I'm sorry. And we need that attitude a lot more. So the immigrant has really changed. When we had Max Nikias, he's the ideal immigrant. He loves the country, he contributed so much to it, and yet he's that profile that he and millions had once represented is under attack now. I think it's because of the indoctrination in the university and the DEI component, that if you're a DEI qualifier, you feel that you're exempt from criticism and you have a right or a duty to trash your host country as white, racist, heterosexual, a whole bit, you know. And I think it will continue until people say, you know what, you're absurd, we're not going to listen to you anymore. If everybody would say that, no matter what your particular background is, I think it would stop very quickly.
Someone was mentioning at the Philadelphia Society meeting, which I was at in Tampa this past weekend, about Peter Schramm, who I think you must have known.
I knew him a lot. I spoke at his in Ohio. Is it Ohio he was at?
He was at the Ashbrook Center. Yeah, he ran that. And Peter was born in Hungary, and his family escaped during the 56 revolution. But he asked his father why here, and essentially the father said, we were always Americans, we just weren't born there. And I do think there are a lot of people that think like that and feel like that and are patriot. But there are many, many more, like Ilhan Omar and others, who are still Somalians and still Pakistanis and Afghanis and whatever the heck, and do not like this place, yet they're a big welfare recipient. You know?
I'm really upset, though, because I was looking at some of the... Steve Hilton now claims, by the way, that the fraud in California has gone up to $400 billion.
I think, yeah.
That would almost cut 25% of the deficit. And when you look at that, and you look at the names that are coming in, a lot of them are naturalized citizens, or they're here a green card, I don't know. But the reason I mention that is the immigrant has a special onus on him, that his host was generous and allowed him to come in, just like a guest into somebody's home. And that you have to behave extraordinarily well. So when these people say, well, he only had a DEI, why deport? You shouldn't have any crime. You should be exemplary, because this country bent over backwards to allow you to be a guest. And then when you come in here, as the Somali community did in many cases, and you defrauded the country, then you should be deported. Just get a fair trial, adjudicate the evidence, then get out, because you've abused the hospitality and you're rewarded our magnanimity with contempt. And so I'm getting really sick of all of this. And immigration has been the backbone of the country. But there was a demonstration that said immigrants built the country. Well, they did, in the sense that we only had a small population, and we were immigrating here from 1820, 1810, even before. But that's not what the sign meant. It meant that only people who were illegal had built the country, and that's not true. It's not true.
Well, let's take a look, Victor, get your take on two Democrats. I mentioned Mark Kelly, and then I also want to go to Maine. So, Mark Kelly, the Democrat senator from Arizona, he is leading a group of 31 Democrats to try to repeal this section of the Big Beautiful Bill that created a $1,700 tax credit. Doesn't kick in until next year, that you and I and everyone here who pays their taxes, instead of paying that money to the federal government, can send that to what's called an SGO, Scholarship Granting Organization. And the way that works is your governor in your state has to check the box, and about 30 governors have. A lot haven't. My state, Connecticut, Ned Lamont has yet to say, yeah, we'll let that apply. I'm going to send my $1,700 somewhere. It should be sent to Connecticut. And what's the point of it? Is to supplement scholarships for private schools, charter schools, even some public schools. But Mark Kelly, the sainted Mark Kelly, really likes to portray himself as kind of a martyr. He's leading this effort to undo this. I don't think it's going to prevail, but a sign of the Democrat Party's beholdenness to the teachers' unions. Any thoughts about him?
Yeah, I do. He is kind of iconic of what's happened to the Democratic Party, because he was in a conservative state that traditionally had 2 Republican senators, and at least for a long time. And he ran as a decorated Navy pilot that had served in the first Gulf War, and then he was an astronaut. And when he came on, he was well below the radar. Married to Gabby Giffords, who was tragically shot. That was another story, blaming Sarah Palin because she had an ad with the crosshairs, which was nothing compared to what Biden said when he said, take them out. But nonetheless, now he has a new stature as a hard leftist. So he knows that the data is there. We have a task force at the Hoover Institution that has looked at vouchers and charter schools, and the evidence is overwhelming. They're so much more effective in teaching children, but more importantly, they have a deterrent effect on the public schools. When you have a successful charter school, then the public schools feel that they have to reform, in other words, to not drain or bleed students. And yet, when you see these types of legislation, it doesn't take a brain to know who's behind it. It's these state and national teachers unions who don't want any examination that all the rest of us have. All the rest of us have. Anybody who's in the real world other than the academic world and the teacher can be fired at any moment. They're either based on their ratings or their performance. But the teachers, once you give a person a lifetime tenure, it's very hard to remove them. And the result is complacency, and we spend far too much money for the results that we get. California spends, I think it's number 10th in the country on expenditures per student, and we're 45th in test scores. So then that, and then he also, you remember, Jack, he made that embarrassing video as a veteran, and he was subject to the Article 82 of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, where he but he suggested to uniformed military personnel that they should, if they felt that Trump was going to issue an order that was, in their opinion, unconstitutional, then they should resist. Well, you can see how that would work. Obama says, we're going to bomb Libya, and then a pilot in the air over Libya says, well, you know, this is week 7, Mr. President, and I was thinking, you never got the War Powers Act after 90 days. Or a guy's at a console doing 500 Predator drone missions, and he says, you know, did you have a warrant for that last mission when we killed American citizen? So you can see what would happen. It would read, and those are accurate with cause, but you can see everybody would think that way, and yet he was promoting that. And as a lot of people pointed out, and then when he said, he reappeared again when Trump said, well, I'm going to take out the bridges and the power plants, and he said this was basically a war crime. And then people pointed out that he had, as a naval pilot, his squadron was tasked with taking out civilian infrastructure in Gulf War I. So should we go back and say you are a war criminal? He's not a war criminal. He obeyed orders, and the orders were logical to get this maniac out of Kuwait and stop the slaughter of the Kurds, etc. So I think he's like Chuck Schumer and all the rest of them. They are an aging group of Democrats that once were partly sane, and they're not anymore. They are terrified of the Mondami wing, the two new governors in Virginia and New Jersey, the Seattle nutty mayor, and they see this Karen Bass type people, and they feel that this is the new Democratic Party. And when they get all together, they think they're majority, but I want to assure them that they're not a majority. They may win some midterm seats because of anger at a current president, which is historically common, but the idea that the American people are going to vote for that agenda, I don't think so.
Here's their poster boy in Maine. The headline, Maine Democrat Graham Plattner, who we've talked about before, he's called Jesus a zombie and the Virgin Mary a skank. This was from...
Skank,
He has described, he's the Nazi tattoo guy, by the way. He described himself as crudely atheist, and that he derided Jesus as a zombie, Mary's a skank. This was an uncovered Reddit post. So Plattner responded to a 2008 lawsuit that claimed a soldier was denied a promotion for not embracing fundamentalist Christianity. Plattner asked, what units is this blank in, and stated that while, quote, I've spent 8 years in the infantry, I've been about as crudely atheist as one can be for the entire time. Plattner cited zombie Jesus jokes and Mary sucking it, covering up being a skank, as example of what he found humorous during his years in the military. And this is the guy he's leading the incumbent Democrat in the race for
he's not only leading the incumbent, he's leading in general election polls, should he be nominated, Susan Collins.
Yeah.
So, he came to prominence with his Totenkopf death head tattoo, which people have argued was either the 3rd Waffen-SS division or it was the Eisenhower group that were in charge of the death camps. Either way, it's pretty horrific. So then there was all this pressure, and he said he was drunk, he didn't know what it was, so then he removed it. He must have had remorse at removing it, because then he changed his narrative. Remember, he said, well, so he must have thought I looked weak, so I'm going to have a new narrative. And my new narrative was, well, I did it because I had been indoctrinated by the military toxic hypermasculinity, i.e. Nazi, and that inflamed my mind. So I went, and he didn't realize what he was saying. He was basically saying to the people of Maine, okay, I thought it would be cool to have a Totenkopf death head Nazi symbol on me, and people at the time said that he knew what he was doing. So I then decided to run for office. So I lied and said I didn't know what I was doing, and I've changed it. So there, it's over. And then he thought, you know what? Everybody's talking about Trump as a Nazi and Pete Hegseth, so I can get some mileage if I change my narrative. So I'm going to change my narrative now and say, well, it was because I really thought I was a Nazi at the time, basically, and therefore I wanted a Nazi symbol. What he doesn't realize is that nobody wants somebody as a U.S. Senator who at any time in his life thought it was cool to be a Nazi, brainwashed or not. But he's basically admitted that that's what the state of his mind was, and nobody likes somebody who lies to the people of Maine as he did, because he just absolutely flipped his story.
Yeah. Wow.
And he's leading, and I think the Republicans and Trump and everybody have to get together, and they're going to have a summit, and they're going to say we have 6 months left. I think they will wrap up the war within 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but we'll see. And they're going to have to say we have no margin of error, no margin of error. We've got to raise money. We've got to hit them on the issues. We've got to get out the vote. If it's still possible, if they're going to block, ID and early mailing, and then we're going to have to outdo them. We're going to have to get every single person out, because this is existential. And I think Trump is going to have to be very careful on his Truth Social posts, because the Catholic vote came out. I think it was 53%. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jack.
Yeah.
It was almost historic, and it really, in some states, made the difference. And what you do not want to do is get into a verbal quarrel with the Pope. That is not wise or astute as you're given your success, especially with Hispanic Catholics. So they have no margin of error, but they can win. They can stop this if they get serious. Because I think the economy, almost every indication now is the stock market's going to go down, but it went up. Oil's going to go to 150, but it went down. Unemployment's terrible, but it's not that bad. Inflation is hyper, but it didn't get into hyper. So you can see that once the war is over, there's going to be an exuberance, and the price of oil is going to crash, and the stock market will go even stronger. It's the highest it's ever been. What I'm getting at is all the things are in place for a good economic recovery in the summer if we could just talk about it, and more importantly, inform the public about it. And then we have the boot on the neck of Iran, and we don't have to do anything other than play, I can't hear you. Yo, you want negotiations? I didn't quite hear you. And then just say, you know what? You're losing $430 million a day. We're incurring more damage on you than we did militarily. And you're not going to be around much longer. But you know what? That's your choice. And we're not going to attack you. We're just going to, blockade you. And if you want to send every ship that tries to intercede, we're going to destroy. If you try to hit Saudis, for each one, we're going to hit you twice. But we're not going to start the war again. We're just going to say, it's your choice. And at some point, very quickly, they're going to be losing, oh my gosh, they're going to be losing, $1 billion, what, $3 billion a week?
Yep.
And they don't have a very big GDP now at all. So we're in a very good position. They just have to communicate that. And we don't communicate that. We get off all these different tangents. But all the president has to say is, phase 1 was to get rid of their ability to make war. Done. Phase 2 was to be magnanimous and show them that we did not want to go to Phase 3, economic strangulation, and we had negotiations. But they negotiated in bad faith, as they have for 47 years. So now we're in Phase 3. Phase 3 is you are going to have no national income. And we're going to persist until you decide that you want to renounce your war-making intentions, abilities, in every aspect, from conventional to nuclear. And we're not going to start a war with you, a new bombing, but I guarantee you, we can say that if you start to hit other people, or you're going to get a retaliatory strike 5-6 times in greater intensity for each one you do. So don't do it, because you're broke. And I think you'll start to see the people rise up. I really do.
Yeah. Well, Victor, now I have to let our listeners know about something. Okay, have a drink while I do that.
Absolutely.
If you've studied enough history, you start to see a pattern. Nations don't lose their way overnight. They drift through debt and division until one day you realize the foundations you thought were permanent were never permanent at all. Today, America is spending at levels once reserved for wartime. We have normalized deficits that would have stunned earlier generations, and policymakers now debate whether the only path forward is more intervention, more printing, and more distortion. But here's the political truth. Every society that pushed its currency beyond discipline eventually paid a price. The wise, though, they never waited for collapse. They prepared for the correction, and that's why so many thoughtful Americans, especially those nearing retirement or in retirement, like me and Victor, nearing, are reallocating part of their wealth into something that has outlasted every paper experiment in human history: physical gold. Not as speculation, but as insulation. Our reputation matters here at Victor Davis Hanson, in his own words, which is why we're partnering with Allegiance Gold, a company distinguished by integrity, reliability, I added an extra syllable there, reliability, and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. For years, they've guided Americans through transparent education and long-standing relationships built on trust, and right now they're extending a special Liberty offer for our listeners and viewers to help you get started with real gold. Whether your funds are in a retirement account or sitting in the bank, if you believe as we do that the best time to reinforce your position is before the storm becomes obvious, call 844-790-9191, 844-790-9191, or visit protectwithvictor.com. That's 844-790-9191, 844-790-9191, or visit protectwithvictor.com. History rewards those who take the long view, and we thank the good people from Allegiance Gold for once again sponsoring Victor Davis Hanson in his own words. Victor, we're just talking about senators. Let's keep this in the Senate. John, here's a headline from Just the News. John Thune's Senate has delayed weaponization prosecutors in the John Brennan probe. So if you bear with me, folks, you've heard my voice a lot here, but I'm just going to read a clip from this article. Earlier this year, the U.S. Justice Department asked 2 Senate committees to provide transcripts and records of contacts with former CIA Director John Brennan regarding the now discredited Russia collusion allegations, signaling that there was an active investigation into whether the former spy boss had misled or obstructed Congress. The letters gave a hard deadline of February 23rd for compliance, while 2 months later, the body run by Republican Senate Majority Leader John Thune, Republican of South Dakota, has not complied, slowing a key angle of a grand jury investigation based in Fort Pierce, Florida, into whether Obama and Biden-era government officials engaged in a conspiracy to weaponize law enforcement and intelligence tools to harm President Donald Trump and his followers. Victor, I don't know if you've ever given us an opinion about John Brennan.
Well, there's so much culpability. We got to remember that this is a man that went before Congress under oath as head of the CIA and had the CIA under his direction spying on U.S. senators. You should look at the tapes of Dianne Feinstein, of all people, who was furious about it. And he said, is the CIA spying, tapping into our staffers' computers? And he said, no, we wouldn't do that. That was a complete abject lie, and he had to apologize, but that was under oath. He should have been charged immediately with perjury. He came in another time, and to federal investigators that were in this testimony, he said, is there collateral damage on CIA targeted drone assassinations on the Afghan border? He said, no. There were lots of them. He knowingly lied. He was in the Oval Office when Barack Obama said, we have to pursue, after the election, the lame duck Obama, we have to pursue this Russian collusion. And he and Clapper and Comey gave the impression to Obama that their subordinates couldn't find that. And he said, go back and find it. So they fabricated it. Fourth, when Anthony Blinken was working as a henchman for the 2020 campaign, and they were very worried that Trump was catching up, and it was on the eve of the second debate, and they had a disaster on their hands. The Hunter laptop was under the FBI control, but people had known what was in it, and they had exposed it. The FBI had run forensics on it and knew that it was genuine. And they kept quiet under Christopher Wray. They did not tell anybody that this was and they watched as Anthony Blinken, working for the Biden campaign, called up the ex-interim director of the CIA, Mike Morrell, as I recall this, I'm doing it by memory, and he said, we've got to round up some experts. And they said, well, we can't get CIA people now. We'll get retired, so get old Brennan and Clapper. And they got Leon Panetta, of course, who always appears in these situations. And they lied to the American people that this had all the hallmarks of Russian. They meant disinformation, but they took the dis out of an information campaign, so when they got caught, they can say, well, we didn't say it was Russian disinformation. We considered it Russian information, which is crazy. But that, according to one, albeit conservative poll, that affected the way people voted. Because when Trump went in and he raised that, what did Joe Biden do? Just as the script provided. 51 former CIA experts, Mr. Trump, that say you're lying, that this was all cooked up by your friends in Russia. It was all cooked up by Hunter Biden, and it was true. And that affected an election. And so he has a lot of culpability, and he's never been, his whole attitude is to go on CNN or MS now and take the offensive and call Trump a liar, a collusion, all that. But he has so much culpability. And the fact that you have a grand jury in Florida might mean that you're not going to have a legal circus as we saw with Letitia James and the E. Jean Carroll case and Alvin Bragg in left wing New York. So I don't know the particulars why Thune is holding that up, but it's something. He has a destiny. He has a rendezvous with accountability. Clapper too. Comey, I think it was handled poorly, but the director of the FBI can't go before the House Oversight Committee and under oath say 245 times, I don't remember. If I don't pay 2 supplements for the IRS, and the IRS investigator comes to my house and say, Mr. Hansen, why didn't you? I don't remember. I don't recall. That's something that wasn't in my purview. I had no responsibility for that. I'm going to go to jail for that.
Yeah, put your hands behind your back. So
yeah, and they didn't. So they've all been treated with kid gloves, and they think now they've run out the statute of limitations. I don't know, but they should really pursue this, because what he did really affected the country and an election.
Well, Victor, we're going to take a little break, and when we come back from that, we're going to get your views on Donald Trump's utterances about Cuba. We have something about Nike, and if we have time, these missing/dead scientists. So that and more when we come back from these important messages.
If you enjoy Victor Davis Hanson, you might enjoy the Daily Signal's flagship show, The Tony Kinnett Cast. The same common-sense perspectives you love, weekdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. And unlike some of the other evening shows, we work up until showtime to bring you the latest breaking news, analysis, and good old American sarcasm. Tom Tillis, I'm pretty sure might have been useful at one time as a doorstop. Find The Tony Kinnett Cast on YouTube, X, radio, TV, or wherever you get your podcasts.
We are back with Victor Davis Hanson in his own words on the Daily Signal Network. I want to remind you, Victor also does Victor Davis Hanson in a few words also for the Daily Signal. Go to the Daily Signal's website, check that out. Again, go to Victor's website, The Blade of Perseus, victorhanson.com. If you're on X, Victor's handle is at VD Hanson. Facebook, VDH's Morning Cup, and there's also a friendly, very, very good, wonderful people, Victor Davis Hanson Fan Club on Facebook. So let's talk about Nike first, Victor, because this is a Boston Marathon time of year. And Nike, here's the headline, Nike humiliated for walkers tolerated, in quotes, ad, it's accused of pace shaming ahead of the Boston Marathon. So Nike yanked a Boston Marathon ad, this was in Boston, that mocked walkers following accusations of, quote, pace shaming, end quote, and excluding athletes with disabilities. The sportswear giant removed the sign stating in all caps, quote, runners welcome, walkers tolerated, end quote, from its flagship on Boston's Newbury Street, just ahead of Monday's competition, etc., etc. Victor, you know, you have disability in your life with your granddaughter, my sister, God rest her soul, same. I'm no fan of Nike either. But this, like, pace shaming? I mean,
I didn't understand. What was the outrage about?
Well, because if Nike's saying walkers, runners welcome, walkers tolerated. So, does that mean you're making fun of people who can't run?
Well, I mean, it was a marathon. I guess what they're saying is that there's able-bodied gawkers. That's what I thought it meant. Gawkers, you know, that want to just say, I was in the marathon and I want to walk it, and they clog up the lanes.
No, I think they immediately took to saying there are people in marathons who, for all I know, people do it on crutches and you know.
I know. Yeah.
So they pace shamed them.
Yes.
Anyway, I just think our knee jerk to become victims. Maybe it couldn't happen to a nicer company than Nike, which has been
I can say to you that I'm offended by your attitude as a cancer survivor.
I'm sorry about that, Victor. Did you do your paces today, Victor? I don't want to pace shame you.
Somebody in the hospital told me that, and they said, well, you can say now that you're a cancer survivor. I said, for how long? So, anyway.
Well, you are. All right. Well, let's. To me, was an interesting cultural matter. Donald Trump vows a new dawn for Cuba. So he was in Phoenix last week talking, Victor, and says, here's what the president said, we're going to help them out with Cuba. He told the crowd, we have a lot of great Cuban Americans, not too many in this audience, I don't think, but you can go to Miami. We have people, Cuban Americans, people who were brutally treated, whose families were killed and brutalized, and now, watch what happens. Cuba is next, by the way. But pretend I didn't say that, please. I love when Trump does that stuff. Anyway, do you think by the end of the year Cuba is going to be a la Venezuela?
I don't know. There's a disturbing column in the Wall Street Journal, which I take with a grain of salt, given that it's not the old Wall Street Journal that I remember, but that the post-Maduro apparat is starting to backslide, and they still have political prisoners, and they think that Trump might be preoccupied. And the good news is that the oil now is transparent. It's not going at discounts to China or free to Cuba, and they're making a lot of money, and the people are better off. But right now, before the midterms, I would cool the rhetoric and work more behind the scenes. Because he's right, if you were to get a change of government in Iran followed by a change of government in Cuba, there would be, even though foreign policy doesn't take a major role in a midterm, it would be sort of like the fall of the Warsaw Pact and the fall of the Berlin Wall. And because it's so close to us, the key here, the key warning is, you don't want to threaten military force openly and publicly. You just want to say to them, there are forces in motion, and we are going to accelerate them by a blockade or a cutoff of oil because we are on the side of the long-suffering Cuban people. And we call on them to take their government back in their own hands, and we call on the ossified Castroite government to understand that your days are over with. It doesn't work. Communism does not work. And we're offering you a way out. And we'll have a reconciliation, we urge. There won't be reprisals for all the thousands that they've killed. And just then, if they open the door for 1 month, the Cuban government, and said they're going to be, this is a free market and we welcome Cuban Americans to come back, that would be the end of it, because they would come back with billions of dollars. They're very entrepreneurial, gifted people. Yeah. And they were the middle and upper classes that left. They have all that expertise, and they would go back and make that state, that country, boom, it would be the jewel of the Mediterranean, the Caribbean in, 10 years. And they know that, so they're in a very weird position, because the poorer they get, both people in government and the people themselves say, 90 miles away, there's a cure, there's a booster shot, and all we have to do is let these people come in and make us rich, and and we can cut deals while we're still in power before we get overthrown. But the longer we stay and the more unpopular, the odds increase that we're going to be in a Nuremberg trial and broke, because they're going to come sooner or later. And that's the message they have to send. But Trump should not say, I took over Venezuela, I took over Iran, now I've took him over, because that's not what the MAGA base necessarily wants to hear. It is, what he needs to say is, I stopped 7 wars, like he did say the other day. I went in Kosovo and Serbia, India and Pakistan, and go through all of them, and then say, and I've added to that collection, I've stopped the violence in Venezuela, and we basically have helped the people. We've stopped the killing in Iran, and we're helping the people. And now we're going to try to help the people in Cuba. And that's all he needs to say. But don't do it in a braggadocious, I'm going to be taking out the Cubans just like I took out them, you know what I mean, or bomb bots. None of that. It doesn't go well with his base.
Yeah. Maybe at our age we'll have a particular animus to Cuba and its proximity, etc. But also for me, their role in the Hanoi Hilton as torturing Americans on behalf of the Vietnamese government, they were leaders there.
Absolutely. That's everywhere in the 60s and 70s, whether it was Vietnam or Angola or Grenada, whenever there was a role for torture and killing, they called in the Cuban. Maduro called them in, Chavez called them into Venezuela. And they need to be held to account. They're really bad people, but they're a vast minority of the Cuban people. But they need to be held accountable. And it's a chain reaction. That's what's weird about human nature. If Trump can hold out and not do an Obama deal or an Obama 2 and give them 10 years to not enrich, just say, you know what, we feel for the Iranian people, but we're going to keep blockading you until you meet these demands. And when you do, all good things will happen. But if you don't, you're going to go broke. And if you think you're going to revive your military card, it's not going to go well for you. And that will have a force multiplying effect on Cuba like Venezuela did on Iran. And that will help him at the end.
Victor, we're going to, let me ask you one other topic, and I got to talk about a sponsor. But this is this growing story. It used to be 6, then 7, 8. Now we're at 11. 11 high-level scientists in America they're dead or they've disappeared, and it seemed like a conspiracy theory at first, or just a coincidence. But not when you get to certain numbers. What the hell's going on here?
I didn't know. Some of them, some of them had warned that they were in danger. Some of them go back many years. I don't think you can adjudicate it until somebody can say they can take all the people that are included in the pool of people that were killed, 11 or 12, and say these are the fields that brought them into danger, and then give us a figure, a denominator of how many people were in that field. In other words, is it UFOs? Is it NASA type projects? Is it military, ballistics, whatever counts as a qualifier of these deaths, and then see how many people, whether there are 100,000 of them or 50,000, and then see what the annual death rate is. You know, in that pool. Is it 12, 15, 20? I mean, the death rate by suicide or violence or missing. And if it's aberrant, it shouldn't be very hard to find out if it's aberrant. But when somebody says, this person killed themselves 3 years ago, or this person got lost, I don't know how often that occurs. And I don't know if all of them in that pool had exactly the same type of research interest. Because if you just say it's outer space or military related or UFO, that could be 100,000 people working on that. So, and if it is, it does seem that someone might, if you find out that that is a aberrant statistic, that many people in this particular field dying mysteriously or through violence, then find out what exactly they were working on and what its import was to national defense, and then you would think that there would be 4 likely suspects: Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran. And
I'll throw Cuba in just for the hell of it.
Well, Cuba, but Cuba's been. It has the will, but it doesn't have the wherewithal of the other 4.
Still don't know what the hell they were doing with the
sonic.
Our diplomat. Yeah.
That was real. I mean, they had terrible damage. I think that was a Russian-Cuban project. I really do. And they were trying to do that, but that happened under Obama at first, and they should have taken reprisals right away.
Well, Victor, everything we carry today is broadcasting a signal. Your phone, your laptop, even your car key fob. And most people don't realize it, but these devices are constantly sharing location data, identifiers, and wireless handshakes with networks all around you. That signal can be tracked, collected, intercepted, making you and your data vulnerable. And that's just the reality of the world we live in now, and that's why you should start using Silent. You don't want big tech, the government, or anyone else knowing your every move. You want control. Excuse me, over when you're connected and what you share. And when you place your phone, laptop, or key fob in a silent Faraday bag, the signal instantly stops. No cellular, no Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth, no GPS. Your device is disconnected from the grid. And here's the part that really got our attention. Silent has been awarded 9 military contracts. This is the same type of signal blocking gear used to help protect our soldiers from GPS detection and electronic threats. Now that same technology is available for everyday people like you and me and Victor. So if you and the great Sammy Wink. So if you want to check it out, go to silent.com/VDH, and let me spell that for you. Silent. That's SLNT.com/Victor. I'll do that one more time. SLNT.com/VDH to save 15% plus free shipping on qualifying orders. Again, SLNT.com/VDH. And we thank the good people from Silent for sponsoring Victor Davis Hanson in his own words. Another topic here, Victor. If I find my paperwork, the 2000 some reports are coming out. I think we knew this already, but Chronicles, the publication, has a piece by Benjamin Osborne. I want to recommend it to folks. How the 2020 United States Census defrauded the American people. And if you just tolerate me here a second, the Census Bureau, this is midway through this article, later admitted major counting errors across multiple states. Interestingly, the errors were not neutral. They resulted in a net shift of congressional representation. Florida and Texas, fast-growing and more conservative, were undercounted and lost seats they otherwise would have gained. Meanwhile, blue states like Minnesota and Rhode Island held on to seats they should have lost, and Colorado gained one it didn't deserve. This is a reallocation of political power at the national level, and it didn't stop there. Differential privacy created something even more insidious: plausible deniability. Before 2020, if a locality identified a census error, it could challenge it through established processes called count question resolutions. After 2020, that became impossible. No one could tell whether a bad number was a real mistake or an algorithmic noise and the data was intentionally obscured, etc. Victor, this is, the integrity of our census is...
It comes on top of all these other stories. I mean, if you had mentioned, people after January 6th were mentioning this, and they were being tarred and feathered just to mention it, because the Democrats had mastered the narrative. But remember, there were those tens of thousands of mail-in ballots, I think, in Georgia that weren't properly signed, and then they said, well, this was pro forma, or it happens all the time. But a general rule is, if you have two parties, and one party wants no ID to be presented whatsoever, anybody can just vote, and one party wants early voting as long as possible, and one party wants not absentee ballots, but mail-in ballots. And one party has engineered this new process to such a degree that the final tally will not come out in California for weeks. And when that tally comes out, usually the Democratic candidate wins, at least here. Then you just should expect that result. What is the intent behind all of that? The intent behind all of that is, A, we don't have confidence that the trans agenda, open borders, mass amnesty, radical green New Deal will appeal to 51%. So we have to bring in people who will not be audited, or we have to use machinations to get more people to vote than actually exist. People in quotation marks. It's kind of what James Carville said the other day. He said Spamberger was kind of a model, that she ran like a moderate and then she turned out to be a good radical. He's very schizophrenic. He complains about the Democratic Party, that it's too radical, but he doesn't mean that he disagrees with their radicalism. He just means that they're too overtly, like Mondami, radical. But if they would just shut up about it and dilute the electorate, as Biden did in 2020 when he ran as good old Joe Biden from Scranton, and then let the Obama puppeteers run the country into the ground, that's his model. And so he said to a private group, albeit, that got out, that we should pack the court. That's 167 years at 9 justices. We should let in New Jersey and Washington, D.C. as states. That's 67 years, 50 states. And we should eliminate the filibuster. That's, depending on how you adjudicate, that's 220 years. And destroy all those traditions, because it'll be useful for us when we're in power. And of course you think, well, why are you saying that now? Because the Republicans control the Senate. They could destroy this filibuster. If you're going to do it anyway, they might as well get some enjoyment. And then you think, well, Republicans play by the rules and then tradition, and they're not going to do it. That's what he's thinking. And he's right about that. But again, it's re-engineer the system, because the system does not give you the intended result. The balloting system does not. They're almost got this awful national voter compact, where the state legislatures in blue states are voting that when their electors shall represent the national vote and not the state vote, basically overturn the Constitution without an amendment. I think it's absolutely unconstitutional, but they're getting up to the crucial majority that if they all, I think they're only 70 electoral votes away, maybe 50, that you could see blue states picking their electors on the national vote, and those states that did so would be the majority of the electors, and they could vote in an election. So again, it all shows a lack of confidence in the message. And so you have to do all of these shady things and untoward things because you don't have confidence in the American people. If they had full knowledge of who you are and what you were doing, they would support you. And they know that. That's why they always cheat.
Yes, well, win if you can, lose if you must, but always cheat is a comment by somebody I know. Not you. Victor, one last quick thing I want to recommend, since I've been recommending certain articles to get today. Again, the last one was by Benjamin Osborne in Chronicles. There's Matt Labb, who's at the College Fix, and he's been an editor there. Not the editor, Jen Cabani is, but John, our friend John Miller, is the founder of the College Fix, but he has a piece on the Truman Scholarships, and this is a federal scholarship, and they have these boards, and we're used to it. We're not going to win the Academy Awards, we're not going to win the Tonys, we're not going to get MacArthur grants, etc. But these should be these scholarships should be a little more 50-50. Well, Matt's story is Democrats dominate the scholarship 17 regional review panels. Long story, there are 60 Democrats on these panels and only 10 Republicans. And the vast majority over the years of these scholarships have gone to discernible Democrats, very few to discernible Republicans. And this is the kind of thing John Thune and others should put their foot down on, and the administration also have more say-so.
Been going on for a half century, and this is what, when all these people shriek and cry about DEI, affirmative action, people have gone on it for 50 years. I can remember in 1980, I was at the American Philological Association. There was about 150 applicants for 17 jobs, and the best one I thought was the U.S. Naval Academy. And I was about the only person who applied that was a military historian, one other person. And I had a wonderful interview, and this very kind person said, "Would you come over to me? I want to talk to you." And he said, "You're not going to get this job. You did the best interview, but you're not going to get this job. We can't afford to hire a white male." That same year, I had applied to go, 2 years earlier, I had applied to go to the American School of Classical Studies for a Fulbright. And I had a project which became a book, Warfare and Agriculture in Classical Greece, and I outlined it. That was my Fulbright proposal, and it had every little catch in it. You're going to be out in the countryside, you'll meet the people of Greece, ethnographic, historical, linguistic, philological. And I was leaving, and I got into the elevator, and a person was in there, and he said, "I left early because you're not going to get this Fulbright. You're just not going to get it, and it's not right for me to tell you, but we're not going to give it to a white male." And that there was a whole generation of white males, and people will say, "Well, what? Yeah, you're crying because you guys have privilege." No, they didn't have privilege. They didn't, and they were completely eliminated from all of these government fellowships, positions, universities, everything. And it was very unfair. And when Trump did that and eliminated DEI along with help with the Supreme Court, don't think it's going to end. They were very insidious. And the final wrinkle to all this, Jack, is that you would think that so-called liberal white women and liberal men would not want to be discriminating against their own children, but the people who enact these policies find ways to navigate around it. Their attitude is, this is going to affect some stupid idiot in Fresno or Bakersfield, but my kids, I know the dean, I know the fellowship officer, I know a guy in the White House. So they all feel that they can finagle around it, and they do. If you look at the progeny of Senator Barbara Boxer or Diane, any of these Bay Area politicians, they always have privilege. Always. They get around it, and it's really disturbing what they've done to the country, because then they make fun of these people. The white male as a dunce, a clinger, a deplorable, but part of the anger of the white male is that for over a half century, if they applied on an even playing field, white males who may or may not have had privilege in the past and white women said that they were privileged when they had no privilege, and they used them as sort of a shield to protect their own position from the DEI Frankenstein monsters they created. And so I saw that one of the things I pledged to do if I ever got a tenure track job, and I did finally at Cal State Fresno, I said every single qualified white male who's turned down, I will try to help. And I helped 2 people, and one in philosophy, one in foreign languages, one in history, to get a job. And I complained and complained that these people were very, very good, and they all ended up very good. But it was the biggest problem were these white males from the 60s that were hired sight unseen when the universities were expanding, ABDs without theses, and they were worried about their position, and they wanted to ingratiate themselves with women and minorities, and they were mediocre, and they used a new generation of white males as their sacrificial lamb.
Is there an insurance
Final
policy?
thing, Jack, did you see that poll about, I'm trying to remember who did it, about marriage and political outlook? They polled how many men have children or married, and how that are Republican, Democratic men, Democratic women, and Democratic men. It was very interesting. The men were about half were married over the age of 18, Democrat and Republican. There wasn't a wide difference. Where the difference was women. It was just astounding that 63% of women who identified as Democrats were unmarried, and Republican women were way up there in the 58%. I mean, it was just like an outlier. And then when I saw that, I thought, wow, I'm looking at the people on the barricades in Minnesota or Minneapolis or Los Angeles. It's 9 to 5, and what are they doing? They're out there, and they're very unhappy people. We know that people who are not married, I'm not saying that everybody should get married or stay married, there's reasons not to, but we know that they're less happy. And I think a lot of it, what I'm getting at is I think the Democratic Party's moved to the left, that we need to have new exegesis for why they are so crazy. And I think a lot of it is having to do that they're inordinately represented at these left-wing universities that get brainwashed. They've been sold a bill of goods that you shouldn't have children, as AOC said, because the planet's too hot. That your whole fulfillment in life, there is no transcendence, there is no hereafter, there's nothing, is your career and your status and your appetites being gratified, and you have to be powerful, and you have to adopt the customs and attitudes of competitive men, and you define your own sexuality in the way that, da-da-da-da-da, and it doesn't make them happy, but their own prescription for happiness is a prescription for unhappiness.
Right. And by the way, you can have children, but as long as you're not married. So, I mean, it's the absence of a nuclear family that's...
I don't know what's going to happen if some people, finally, these truths are going to be so self-evident that there's going to be a collective shrug and people are going to really address it. Right now, there are particular groups that are trying to enlighten the public. Another problem is nobody, since Daniel Patrick Moynihan, as you said, has addressed the fact that inner city African Americans, demographically, in terms of a number of arrests, hate crimes, interracial disparities between crimes, they're way overrepresented. Everybody knows it, and nobody will talk about it. Nobody wants to deal with it. The extent we deal with it is it's all a result of victimization. But nobody wants to talk about education, two-parent families, the problem with inner-city schools, the lack of police enforcement. But that issue is so egregious now that I think people are going to really say, you know what, call me all the names you want, but this is... When you have foreign countries that list particular areas in the United States as no-go zones, even did you see the Chinese have identified particular airports and places they don't want their citizens to come through?
No, really?
Yeah, they're too dangerous.
Yeah, well, we talked the other day, there's a segment of black women in America who are unmarried and with children, and they seem crazed, just crazed. I don't know if it's drugs, maybe drugs part of it, maybe it's growing up, abandoned by men, or never, dad wasn't there, who knows, but there's
I think I told you when I was
deeply
when I was a professor, there was two very bright African American. They were a married couple, and they had 3 children that were all convicted of murder in gangs, and they were in prison. And they both, she was HIV positive, and I think he was. This was the early years of AIDS, and they needed a class,
realize that too. Like, all the no-goes.
A history class that was no longer and they came to me and said, would you teach a graduate independent study, which is very hard to do, a graduate course independent study. And I talked to the chairman, he said, nobody wants to talk to these people, they're crazy. But I did. And even though I didn't know much about AIDS, and she said, you can't catch AIDS, and I didn't care really. And so they came to my office for 15 weeks, for 2 hours a week. And, I tutored them on, Persian War, Peloponnesian War, Thucydides and everything, and they did fine. Finally, they left and they became a truck driver team. But anyway, she would talk about this topic about black women. She had been a civil rights leader at Sac State, and then she and her husband had drugs, and it all went downhill. And I said, why are you so angry? And she said, well, I'm not angry like a lot of people because of dependency on the government, or I'm unmarried, I'm married. But she said, I hadn't thought of this. But she gave a long excursus on it. She said, when black men are very successful and well compensated, they marry white women. And that is a form of racism, because then they assume that black men that are not successful or have criminal records, and I think at one point black males between the ages of 18 and 60, 40% had been arrested one time. So she was saying, and then they expect those people to marry black women, and that's an insult to black women. I had never thought about that.
Yeah.
Seriously, I'd heard that, but never seriously. And she was very angry. And then she went, it was right during the OJ trial, that's how it came out. That OJ was wealthy and handsome and young, and so he didn't want his first wife around anymore. He married this exotic white woman, and it was basically telling me, to be frank with you, I don't want to say it was a great story. It's why she deserved to be murdered.
Well, I mean, that's, I think, a lot of the animus towards Clarence Thomas was,
same thing. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah. Well, Victor, I have a few comments to read as we're here towards the end of our of this episode. So we have Caronian Canuck, 482. I can listen to VDH for hours and still want more. Thank you, Mr. Hansen. Come to Vancouver, Canada one day. I don't know if you want to go up there. But
I've been to Vancouver. It's a very beautiful place.
Oh, sure, yeah, but who knows? You may have said something.
Conservative Canadians are like conservative Frenchmen. They're very rare, but when you see one, to survive, they have to be especially capable. And they're unafraid and courageous. So every time I see a conservative Australians more so now, because they seem to be getting more liberal, but Australian conservatives, Canadian conservatives, French conservatives, some of the best conservatives in the world.
California, Central Valley conservatives also.
Well, there's a lot of us here. There's a lot of us here.
Yeah. Cheryl Wood, 2690 writes, awake at 5 a.m. to enjoy VDH's empirical logic. Live, VDH, live. Continuing to pray. That was an order, Victor.
If it's up to me, I will live. Believe me, till my last breath, I will say I want to live.
Yeah. Well,
I'm very happy. Life's been very kind to me.
Well, you've got battle scars. Peter Wolak, 585, says, I can't believe what a brilliant man Professor Victor Davis Hansen is. Thank you for your sanity and your gift of wisdom, and that represents so many comments we see on YouTube. And last one here from Jennifer Jones, 1128. Jennifer Jones.
She was a favorite actress.
Oh, she was in Song of Bernadette. She won an Oscar for that. So the Blessed Mother.
Very beautiful woman.
Oh my gosh, she's gorgeous. I love Victor Davis Hansen. We need more people like Victor. I've learned so much by listening to him. He's the best at explaining the entirety of issues, especially love when he talks about certain periods of history and how he adds the nuances of all sides, like various ideologies of people involved in our economic policies of the time, etc. So, Jennifer, Peter, and others, thanks for all your kind
Thank you, everybody.
words.
Kind comments.
And as for me, Jack Fowler, Civil Thoughts, I write that for the Center for Civil Society. It comes out every Friday, and you should get it. It's free. It's got 15 recommended readings. I know you're going to like it. So go to civilthoughts.com. Sign up there. Easy peasy. We're not selling your name. Trust me, you'll like it. Victor, thanks for all the wisdom you dispensed and shared.
Thank you, everybody, for watching and viewing again, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to the Daily Signal. Please like, share, and subscribe to be notified for more content like this. You can also check out my own website at victorhansen.com and subscribe for exclusive features in addition.
The way you see an idea in your mind.
Let's say you have a relationship, intimate relationship, then he or she betrays you in the conventional narrative. And then you immediately, the mind jumps to this conclusion. I'm never going to trust any woman or man again. Never. That's you've just would have constructed a dreadful prison for yourself. Public speaking for many people is one of the most stressful things. And that's because they can't become comfortable with not knowing. The big difference is becoming comfortable with not knowing and feeling, I don't know but I should know. That's very uncomfortable. Remember what the great philosopher Socrates said? They call me the wisest of all men for the reason that I'm the only one who knows that he knows nothing. Nobody really has truly understood what he meant. People thought he was just pretending not to know. But I'm convinced that he was referring to the state of not knowing, which is also, of course, the state of not thinking, but awareness, out of which is the whole philosophy emerged. The creative use of mind emerged out of the space of no mind. If you have no access to the space of no mind, then your mind will not be creative in any way. In other words, it's just, you can only have to rely on what you have acquired, and you will be moving within the conditioned realm of the mind. Whatever the mind has been conditioned by, that's all you have then. Another area where it's very helpful, this not knowing, is not to formulate conclusions on limited, sufficient evidence to come to conclusions that become rigid thoughts in your mind concerning, for example, other people or yourself, or what you call your life. Such as, for example, let's say you have a relationship, intimate relationship, then he or she betrays you in the conventional narrative, and then you immediately, the mind jumps to this conclusion: I'm never going to trust any woman or man again. Never. That's a term you just would have constructed a dreadful prison for yourself. So you have a thought that suddenly dominates your mind in order to show, I'm not going to suffer again in that way, this is no more. These conclusions can become self-made prisons, and then you walk in and you shut the door, and there you are, stuck in that mind pattern. Never again being able to relate openly to a man or a woman. And then you've other weird conclusions that people arrive at. Some of them are so-called prejudices and so on. They're very rigid mental formations that deprive you of openness towards reality. So it's good to be, with relation to other people, also frequently not to be very careful with formulating conclusions about other people, individuals or groups of people. Remain as much as possible in the state of not knowing conceptually, and yet there is a deep knowing there, but it's not a knowing that creates separation between you and the other. So it's easy to find imperfections in people when you start working with them or living with them. And if you place excessive focus on the imperfection or areas of unconsciousness, then that can obliterate the totality of that person. For example, let's say somebody lies to you about something, for whatever people lie for different reasons. Maybe even not to hurt you or whatever, who knows what the reason is. And then you find out, and then you say, oh, he's a liar. I know what kind of a person that is now. He's a liar. He lied to me. Of course, that makes it much worse than me. And once you've formulated an opinion or a judgment of that kind, you can no longer meet this person in a space of openness, because immediately the judgment you formulated is there between you and you relate. This becomes part of the screen of conceptualization through which you then relate to that person. Now, if you formulate a judgment about an entire group of people, as political group of people, religious group of people, all, whatever they are like that, all, then when you meet an individual representative of that group, you will no longer be able to because you're meeting your mental image that you have created. So the true meeting is no longer possible. Very dangerous traps in your mind, created by your mind, by unconscious mental activity.
L'Oreal Paris Magic Group.
Does the ocean go? If you took the highest point on land and submerged it, you would still have more than a mile between you and the deepest point in the oceans. The oceans harbor 99% of all living space on Earth, and have enough water to fill a bathtub that's 685 miles long, on each side. For scale, here's a human, and here's a blue whale, the largest animal on Earth. Blue whales usually hunt at depths of around 330 feet, within the well-lit zone of the ocean. Deeper down, at 700 feet, the USS Triton became the first submarine to circumnavigate the Earth in 1960. At 831 feet, we reached the deepest free dive in recorded history. Down here, the pressure is 26 times greater than at the surface, which would crush most human lungs. But whales manage it, diving to a max depth of 1,640 feet where they hunt giant squid. At 2,400 feet, we reached the danger zone for modern nuclear attack submarines. Any deeper, and the submarine's hull would implode. 2,722 feet down is where the tip of the world's tallest building, the Burj Khalifa, would reach. A little farther, at 3,280 feet, we're deep enough that sunlight can't reach us. We've now entered the midnight zone. Many animals down here can't see, like these eyeless shrimp at 7,500 feet who thrive near scalding hot underwater volcanoes. At this depth, temperatures are just a few degrees above freezing, but the waters around hydrothermal vents can heat up to 800 degrees Fahrenheit. 9,816 feet is the deepest any mammal has been recorded swimming, the Cuvier-beaked whale. But not even the Cuvier-beaked whale could explore the RMS Titanic, which rests at a staggering depth of 12,500 feet. The pressure is now 378 times greater than at the surface. Yet you can still find sea life, like the fangtooth, hagfish, and Dumbo octopus, the deepest living octopus on Earth. At 20,000 feet is the Hadal Zone, an area designated for the ocean's deepest trenches, like the Mariana Trench. If you tipped Mount Everest into the Mariana Trench, its summit would reach down to 29,029 feet. That still doesn't compare to the two deepest crewed missions in history. In 2012, director James Cameron descended to 35,756 feet for the Deep Sea Challenger mission. But Cameron didn't quite break the record, which was set by oceanographer Jacques Piccard and Lieutenant Don Walsh in 1960. Piccard and Walsh descended to the lowest point on Earth, Challenger Deep, at a record 35,797 feet below the surface. Since then, scientists have sent half a dozen unmanned submersibles to explore Challenger Deep, including Kaiko, which collected over 350 species off the seafloor between 1995 and 2003. But scientists estimate there are potentially thousands of marine species we have yet to discover. Humans have explored an estimated 5 to 10% of Earth's oceans. We've only just begun to understand the deep, dark world that flows beneath us.
What once was a 7-in-1 CC foundation is now an 8-in-1 thanks to our better price technology.
Earth, a 4.5 billion-year-old planet, still evolving. As continents shift and clash, volcanoes erupt, and glaciers grow and recede. The Earth's crust is carved in numerous and fascinating ways, leaving a trail of geological mysteries behind. In this episode, the Marianas Trench, the deepest point on Earth, is explored. Its sheer walls cut 7 miles into the Pacific Ocean. The mystery of what created this deep, dark chasm takes science detectives on some of the most dangerous dives ever attempted. Deep into the abyss. Scouring the ocean floor, scientists uncover a strange undersea world of fiery mountains, bizarre mud volcanoes, and the largest geological structure on Earth. Discoveries from this unique underwater world will revolutionize our understanding of the powerful forces that shape not just the trench, but the Earth itself. Hidden deep beneath the waves of the Western Pacific lies the Marianas Trench, the deepest point of all the oceans. The first step on the journey of what created this mysterious scar in the Earth's crust and how it continues to mold the planet takes us back to 1872, when a British research vessel, HMS Challenger, set out on the first ever mission to map the ocean floor.
Throughout most of recorded history, men had just assumed that beyond a certain level the sea was pretty flat, pretty dead, fairly lifeless. They weren't expecting to find anything very interesting.
For 4 years, the Challenger crisscrossed the oceans, covering 70,000 miles, a third of the distance to the moon. The crew plumbed the depths every 140 miles, using a total of 249 miles of rope and hundreds of pounds of lead weight. It was tedious, backbreaking work, but at the time it was the only way to measure the depth of the ocean floor. When they got to the Western Pacific, 200 miles off the island of Guam, the crew routinely lowered the rope for a measurement. But the weight kept on dropping and dropping.
It's a big surprise. Nobody thought the ocean was this deep. So all of a sudden we've got scientists saying, why is that?
Eventually, the weight struck the bottom at 4,475 fathoms, nearly 5 miles beneath the ocean's surface.
The scientists would be going, wow, we found something, and what does it mean? Is it a little hole? Is it a big hole? What kind of feature is it down there? There's a whole lot of questions you get when you find this one spectacular reading.
The Challenger expedition marked the birth of modern oceanography and provided the first crude map of the ocean floor. It showed how the ocean floor gently slopes away from the land and then plummets thousands of feet into vast flat plains. But the Western Pacific is different. It drops off again into the 5-mile deep hole, a hole that blew right out of the water the long-held belief that the sea floor was flat and featureless. And it spawned a mystery, because nobody could understand how this strange underwater feature came about. It would be 75 years before any answers emerged. It took a revolutionary new technology, sonar, to push the investigation forward to the next crucial stage. Sonar was first developed in the early 1900s and then perfected during the 1940s to detect submarines lurking in the deep. The system works by pumping sound waves through the water. The waves bounce off solid objects and are reflected back to a detector. By measuring the time it takes for the sound waves to bounce back, scientists realized they could build a remarkably accurate picture of the world beneath the waves.
The world's major navies spend a lot of time and effort developing submarine hunting technology. Then the hydrographers discover that you can use this to chart the bottom of the sea, and it's an awful lot cheaper and easier than using large numbers of sailors pulling on ropes.
In 1951, a British Navy research ship returned to the deep hole found by the Challenger expedition. But this time, they were armed with sophisticated new sonar equipment. And the results were amazing. Detailed sonar maps revealed that the deep hole in the Pacific Ocean floor isn't a hole at all, but part of a massive trench, 30 times deeper than the Empire State Building is high. It runs twice the length of California, 1,500 miles from the southeast of Guam to the northwest of the Mariana Islands.
Knock, knock, Capital One Bank guy. Can I borrow some Wi-Fi? Sure, Chuck. My wash machine. Oh, Fritz also. I got just the thing. Want to try the catchphrase? Do it.
People were probably astounded by what they were seeing because clearly the ocean floor had enormous changes in relief, was very mountainous in some places, had great deeps in other places. To a geologist, this would be extremely exciting.
Even within the trench itself, there are remarkable variations. At its southern end lies the greatest surprise of all. The seafloor drops down another 2 miles to its lowest point, a staggering 7 miles beneath the waves. Scientists had discovered the deepest part of the oceans. Even today, it is the lowest known point on the planet. They named this part of the trench the Challenger Deep, in honor of the ship that discovered it.
To get a sense of just how deep trenches are, if we take the height of Mount Everest, we would still have about a mile of water above us before we get to the ocean's surface.
But how the Marianas Trench was formed remained a mystery. Investigators decided the best way to find the answer was to dive to the bottom of the trench, to see for themselves the lowest point on the planet, the Challenger Deep. But they faced a major problem. At the bottom of the trench, they would have to contend with pressure 1,000 times stronger than at the surface. That's the equivalent of being squeezed on all sides by the weight of 50 jumbo jets. To demonstrate the effects of such pressure, scientists use a dummy head.
Today what we're going to do is actually put one of these styrofoam wig heads in the pressure chamber and expose it to the pressure we would see in the Marianas Trench. That's about 16,000 psi.
A human skull would be crushed to a pulp, but the rubbery head will only have all the air squeezed out.
Wow, that's smaller. And here's what the original size was, just for comparison. Quite dramatic. Pretty stark difference between something that hasn't been 7 miles deep in the ocean and something that has. Glad I'm not going there. At the Mariana Trench, human life is impossible. We're not equipped to resist those kinds of pressures. And so it's necessary to protect humans from that type of an environment.
The challenge to engineers was how to accomplish this. In 1953, Swiss scientist Auguste Piccard designed the Trieste, a pioneering vehicle that could withstand the crushing pressures. The submersible was dominated by a 50-foot-long hull, filled with light aviation gasoline and lead weights to control buoyancy. Slung underneath it was a tiny 6-foot spherical cabin with 5-inch thick steel walls. Finally, after 7 years of modifications and manned test dives no deeper than 3.5 miles, the Trieste was ready to attempt the 7 miles to the bottom of the trench. The commander of this perilous undertaking was U.S. Navy Lieutenant and deep-sea explorer Don Walsh.
I know the astronauts that go through this all the time. Why do you have to be there? Why can't we just put up a robot to do things? You've got to be there because that's what we do.
Only a few officers and scientists knew about the risky mission, which was launched in January 1960 from the western Pacific island of Guam.
Guam, in those days, was kind of a backwater. It was just right for us because we were trying to do this project sort of out of sight because we weren't too sure it was going to work. The Navy just didn't want to be embarrassed by a failed science spectacular.
Accompanying Walsh was the son of the Trieste designer, engineer and oceanographer Jacques Piccard. The two men would spend the next 9 hours squeezed inside the cramped sphere.
And we had 20 cubic feet of space inside. That's about the same as a household refrigerator. And the temperature was almost that cold inside. It was a drama.
He's got the radio here because if you didn't catch it, the dispatcher was.
The Marianas Trench is one of the most remote, inhospitable places on Earth. In January 1960, two deep-sea explorers, Don Walsh and Jacques Piccard, plunged into its depths on board the submersible, the Trieste.
Got it. It Cosmetics CC Foundation has 7 benefits.
Just do me a favor, notate where we start getting things out from. Yep. How much? That was in the forward. There is? Unless you want to be a part of the case. So just take out first pictures, that's it. Other than that, you know.
So I don't know if you caught that, but he said, I'm looking to find the... Very often when you find narcotics, there's also a firearm as well. The thing about finding a firearm is that the case can actually go federal a lot of times.
The only thing that lit up the abyss was the bioluminescence from animals and plankton. It's like fireflies. They carry their own light sources with them.
Encased in their 5-inch thick steel sphere,
Walsh and Picard quickly passed their test dive record of 18,000 feet. Everything appeared to be going to plan. At the rear of the cabin, the crew were protected by a double layer of glass. But 2 hours into the dive, the outer pane cracked.
We had a great big bang. We didn't know what it was. We were about 20,000 feet. And we looked around and checked everything.
Every square inch of their tiny life-supporting capsule was fighting back 8 tons of pressure. With the outer pane broken, the only thing between the men and instant death was a single pane of glass.
If the inner window had cracked, we would have been instantly dead, maybe even before we knew it.
But incredibly, the inner pane remained watertight. Walsh and Picard decided to continue the descent. After a tense, claustrophobic 4 hours and 48 minutes, they approached the bottom of the trench, only to be startled by movement on the sea floor.
Just before we landed, we saw a flatfish, about a foot long, and that's a bottom-dwelling fish, so if you see one, there are others.
Nobody expected to see life at these crushing depths, but it meant the explorers had reached their goal. The very bottom of the Marianas Trench. The depth gauge, with a reading of 35,800 feet, nearly 7 miles below the surface, confirmed the sonar findings. Squeezed inside their bubble of breathable air, the 2 explorers were closer to the Earth's center than man had ever been.
We took a self-portrait. That's the picture that you see. Said we're going to do it, and we did it.
But there was work to be done. Walsh and Picard wanted to make detailed observations of the enormous trench. Unfortunately, the Trieste stirred up a cloud of fine, powdery sediment from the sea floor that obscured their view.
It's like being in a bowl of milk at that point. So, realizing we're not going to see anything, we decided to go on back up to the surface.
Off the island of Guam, the Trieste surfaces after a descent into the Marianas Trench.
After 9 grueling hours underwater, Walsh and Picard returned to the surface on January 23, 1960, and officially entered the record books for the deepest dive of all time. To this day, their extraordinary feat has never been repeated. The mission was a success, but the mystery remained. Geologists still didn't understand what could have formed the immense trench. And if they couldn't find the answer inside the trench, they would have to look elsewhere. Perhaps there was something somewhere on the ocean floor that might explain the trench's origins. Throughout the 50s and 60s, a team of geologists led by Princeton's Harry Hess compiled sonar data from all of the world's oceans. It was as though they had pulled out a giant plug to drain away all the water and expose the ocean floor. Their maps revealed that the Marianas Trench is just a tiny fraction of a network of enormous underwater canyons stretching right around the planet. But that wasn't all. Running parallel to the trench, on the other side of the Pacific, the map showed a giant underwater mountain range, the East Pacific Ridge. And this, too, is part of a global network, a 40,000-mile-long chain of mountain ranges that ring the globe like the seams of a baseball, to make the largest geological feature on Earth.
Pollen allergens don't just float around outside.
I gotta count the money. I gotta get a rough count of the money every
That's a field test where you put just a small amount inside of that little plastic bag and you agitate it to see if you get the color matching. If you do, then it's positive, and then you have the OTC for sure. It's tested again in a laboratory in most jurisdictions to ensure, because the field test, obviously there are some contaminants that can possibly get into the system or the situation, and you don't want that.
Ink over blue is good for cocaine.
If that wasn't busted up, I'd say that probably would be about
Close to it. You want to do me a favor and start notating? You have it? No, just notate when I count it. Let's separate them. Alright, so you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say will be used against you before the law. You have the right to talk to a lawyer and have him or her present while you're being questioned. If you cannot afford to hire one, we'll be appointed to represent you before any questioning if you wish. You can decide at any time to exercise these rights and not answer any questions or make any statements. You understand each of your rights. So you want to speak with me? Yep. You're shaking your head no. I just need a yes or no. No. I can respect it. So you're going to be placed under arrest for everything that I found in the car. Okay? Well, you don't want to talk, so we're not going to talk about it. So I'm just going to say you're going to be placed under arrest. And then your attorney can get the discovery and all the federal charges will be read to you. Okay?
You gonna still make the call?
Yeah.
Let her know that I'm locked up in jail.
What's her phone?
So she won't be stuck. It's up on the white.
Here's an interesting point about reading Miranda at this point. Now, it
Comes from movements that must be occurring deep beneath the ridges and trenches.
With this great investment in seismology, it became possible to locate very precisely where earthquakes had occurred. And it was these things, the precise location, the depth, and the motion, that really gave the outlines of plate tectonics.
It was the birth of an extraordinary new theory. The solid layer of rock, the crust, on which the land and ocean sits, is broken up into a series of vast slabs that geologists call tectonic plates. It's these plates that are moving, grinding past each other, and triggering earthquakes. The underwater ridges and trenches sit on the boundaries between tectonic plates. The East Pacific Ridge and the Marianas Trench lie on opposite edges of the Pacific Plate. The journey to discover what form the Marianas Trench is accumulating additional evidence. The Trieste dived to the bottom of the trench and confirmed that it is the deepest point on the planet. Sonar maps then revealed the East Pacific Ocean ridge running parallel to the trench. To solve the mystery of the Marianas Trench, investigators needed to find out exactly what was happening at the East Pacific Ridge. And that meant exploring these vast mountains, 8,000 feet underwater.
Very closely about whether they want to reach inside of a vehicle that's taking off.
The pieces of the Marianas Trench puzzle are falling into place with the knowledge that it lies on the western edge of the Pacific tectonic plate. On the opposite side of the plate lies the East Pacific Ocean Ridge, part of an enormous chain of underwater mountain ranges that ring the globe to create the largest geological feature on Earth. Scientists had a hunch that this colossal ridge might help explain how the trench was formed. And they found a major clue halfway round the globe, where the ridge passed beneath the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. During the Cold War, the U.S. Navy developed a new technique to spot Soviet submarines. They scanned the seas with a tool called MAD, a magnetic anomaly detector, which can pinpoint steel hulls lurking in the deep. But they stumbled across something else. Running parallel on either side of the ridge, they found strange stripes of magnetic rocks, alternating positive and negative away from the ridge's peak.
Here's the mid-Atlantic ridge coming down through here. Almost perfectly symmetric on either side of that are these white and black stripes. These have often been called zebra stripes.
Geologists know that the Earth is like a giant magnet with a north and a south pole. But the magnetic poles aren't fixed. Every 300,000 years or so, the magnetic field suddenly flips 180 degrees. When the field flips, a compass that was previously pointing north will swing to the south.
This reversing of the Earth's magnetic field is a very interesting and exciting but very puzzling phenomenon for geophysicists to explain.
One of my favorite parts of this job is the people that I work with. We are on the main term. We're all regular people. We're moms, dads. In the construction zone, the speed really is probably the biggest issue. Average speed is probably closer to 70, 75. Sometimes it's literally just a plastic cone that is separating us from live traffic. Makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up a little bit. One thing I'd like to ask of the motorist is just to give us a break, slow down. I want to get home and see my wife and kids tonight.
Artlist Studio is here, the AI video production platform designed to amplify your team's creative output without compromising on quality. Choose locations and characters or create your own to fit your brand down to the smallest detail. Intuitively direct the camera, lighting, and movement to build your entire production shot by shot with absolute creative control. Built to fit your business needs, your team can now deliver at scale with confidence and flexibility, all within the Artlist ecosystem. Go to Artlist and start creating without limits.
Scientists think this reversal explains the stripes either side of the ocean ridge. In the 1960s, geologists discovered that molten volcanic rock, known as magma, swelled up from deep underground to create the ridges in the Atlantic and Pacific. As magma wells up between the tectonic plates, it pushes the seafloor up and forms the colossal mid-ocean ridge thousands of feet high. When the rock is hot and molten, its magnetic minerals line up with the north-south direction of the Earth's magnetic field. As the magma cools, the minerals are locked in position. These rocks act as a permanent record of the magnetic pole's location when the rocks were formed. As more and more magma is forced up, the old crust is pushed away from the ridge and records the reversals in the Earth's magnetic polarity.
If you have reversals of magnetic polarity, then the seafloor acts sort of like a tape recorder and records these changes in magnetization. Then the pattern of magnetic stripes allows people to calculate the speed at which the plates are moving apart.
The zebra stripes are proof that over time, the seafloor in both the Atlantic and the Pacific is spreading away from the ridges at a rate of more than 2 inches a year. But geologists needed proof that magma created the ridge. If red-hot molten rock is creating the enormous mountain range in the Pacific, the surrounding water should be warm. In 1977, a team of scientists set out to discover whether this warm water really existed. Dudley Foster was the pilot for these historic dives.
It's been an exciting occupation because you're on the cutting edge of science. New discoveries all the time. Every cruise, there's a new group of scientists with new scientific objectives. It was the exploration and the discovery. And that's really what puts the thrill in the job.
For weeks, the crew scanned the undersea mountains without success. And then they hit the jackpot. A bizarre pillar of rock, spewing hot, toxic gas.
And we saw the water was sort of shimmering, sort of like bubbling in a glass teapot or something.
Good. How are you?
We stuck the temperature probe in there and
Came out
measured
really good.
38,
I gotta
39
say, out
degrees
of the
Fahrenheit,
ones, all
which
the
was
ones I've tried,
really
the Betty
amazing because
Crocker.
the ocean's a huge heat sink.
No,
So to see
I
something
got the
warm
butter
like
one,
that was
the super
kind of startling.
moist yellow butter cake.
In these pillars of rock,
That's
the
good. It
expedition had
reminds me of
found the
like the
heat from the
old
magma
kind of
surging up from
bizarre
deep inside
style
the earth.
fair cakes, you know, but it's so
It
moist
wasn't
and
warming the water
it's really
evenly
good.
along the ridge. It was channeled up through strange hydrothermal vents.
When you make these discoveries, you don't know how significant they are. The true significance of them maybe takes several years to appreciate. And this was one of those times.
For the investigation into the Marianas Trench, these vents are a decisive piece of evidence.
You can use, yeah, you can use that.
They confirm that magma is continually creating new crust at the Pacific Ocean ridge. And magnetic zebra stripes prove that old crust is pushed away from the ridge towards the other side of the Pacific Plate, towards the Marianas Trench. But this presents scientists with a puzzle. If new crust is being created at the ocean ridge, and the Earth isn't expanding, then the old crust must be disappearing somewhere else.
The reason that there's not getting bigger with seafloor spreading is because the same amount of seafloor is being destroyed in the Pacific.
Something in the Pacific Ocean is devouring the seafloor, and all the evidence points to the Marianas Trench. In the hunt to discover what formed the Marianas Trench, scientists now know crust created at the ocean ridge is being devoured somewhere and by something in the Pacific Ocean.
Make your refund go further. At Tire Warehouse, save up to $90 instantly on select sets of Nexen tires or $70 on select sets of Cooper tires, plus other rebates from trusted tire brands including Goodyear and more. Visit TireWarehouse.net today. Valid through the end of the month.
Love is tender.
One of my favorite parts of this job is the people that I work with. We are on the main turnpike. We're all regular people. We're moms, dads. In the construction zone, the speed really is probably the biggest issue. Average speed is probably closer to 70, 75. Sometimes it's literally just a plastic cone that is separating us from live traffic. Makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up a little bit. One thing I'd like to ask of the motorist is just to give us a break, slow down. I want to get home and see my wife and kids tonight.
Mariana Islands, a chain of volcanoes that break through the ocean surface 200 miles west of the trench. Scientists noticed the island chain mirrors the trench's exact shape. This led them to think the trench was responsible for the island's creation.
If you see pictures of the Marianas Trench, it's curved, and the line of volcanoes that it generates is curved exactly parallel to it.
Geologists believe that the trench formed the volcanoes via a process called subduction. Subduction occurs where two tectonic plates collide. As they grind past each other, the heavier plate is pushed beneath the lighter plate. The descending plate is forced down into the Earth's intensely hot interior called the mantle. It takes with it water and sediment built up over millions of years.
Volcanoes form above subduction zones, not because the Earth is hotter there, but because this is where we're taking the water that once was in the ocean. It's taken into the mantle and gets sweated out, causes the mantle to melt, and this magma is what then rises and erupts explosively out of this volcano.
The water in the sediment forces magma to swirl up and push through the plate above. When it breaks the surface, it creates volcanoes, like the volcanoes that form the Mariana Islands. It was subduction that formed the islands west of the trench and gave investigators the breakthrough they'd been looking for. because here at last was a process powerful enough to create the Marianas Trench. As the descending plate dives down, it digs into the mantle. Here, the colliding plates form a trench, a giant crease in the ocean floor. It seemed that scientists had finally explained how the trench was formed. There was just one problem, a very large problem. Around the world, subduction zones cause violent earthquakes and catastrophic tsunamis.
We know subduction is happening because of the active earthquakes, and these are the most devastating earthquakes. This is the earthquake that generated the tsunami in Sumatra. Also, the other very large earthquakes in Alaska and Chile.
But the Marianas Trench, the deepest subduction zone in the world, hasn't caused a devastating earthquake since records began in the 17th century. Investigators needed to know why.
That's a $60,000 question.
They hoped the trench's shallower western edge might provide the answer. Here they found an intriguing chain of underwater hills 2 miles below the surface of the sea.
Because the officer's in a safe place, he's like, okay, I'm in my safe place, I've got him inside jail. The suspect's like, oh my goodness, I'm at this unknown.
Engineers drilled down into the hills and collected core samples.
There are many studies that we made of attacks that have occurred in Sally for subject. I'm going to watch it and see if he has his guard.
And when the scientists analyzed the samples, they discovered the hills were actually volcanoes. And they spewed out not lava, but mud. The fine, powdery mud is made up of a soft type of rock that has been ground up in the subduction zone. It seemed this soft rock might explain why there have been no major earthquakes at the Marianas Trench.
Everybody has a sense of what a volcano is, but not all volcanoes erupt igneous rocks. There's some volcanoes that erupt mud, and a certain kind of unusual kind of mud in the Marianas is made out of serpentine. And serpentine is a very weak rock, and it can be scratched with a knife or something like that.
Investigators realized the grinding plates crush the soft rock to form a lubricating mud that prevents large earthquakes. Then the mud bubbles up to the ocean floor, where it forms the strange mud volcanoes found along the trench's western edge.
Other parts of the world, like the Andes or maybe Indonesia, you've got 2 plates that are grinding together, and one of the plates is quite strong, and it takes a big earthquake to rupture that plate interface. But if these rocks are weak, like they are in the Marianas, where you've got these serpentinites, those are very weak, and it doesn't take much energy at all to get the 2 plates to glide one past the other.
Jeep Gladiator is your invitation to start doing more. Tow more, haul more, feel more. Here's to more Jeep things this year.
We never did that. In fact, I worked for a pretty big police department in Las Vegas. The jail people handle
What's with all the hands?
I'm
getting a hand from LegalZoom.
Why? There's so many smart influencers who give advice.
You need an LLC.
LegalZoom helps you find the best way to start your business.
Really? For a legal hand to form your business, visit LegalZoom.
At last, geologists had discovered what created the Marianas Trench. 50 million years ago, the Pacific Plate slipped under the edge of the Philippine Plate. As it bent and dived into the Earth's mantle, it formed the colossal Marianas Trench. And the plate is still moving. Like a giant conveyor belt, the Earth's crust travels slowly across the Pacific Plate, from its birthplace in the East Pacific Ridge to its graveyard 10,000 miles away in the Marianas Trench. Today, the Pacific Plate's movement can be tracked in real time.
Confirmation has come from GPS technology, where we can actually put a transmitter on an island and come back year after year and actually follow it moving a few centimeters a year towards the trench.
It's devouring the crust at a rate of 3 inches a year, about as fast as a human fingernail grows. Every 4 million years, it swallows an area the size of the United States. By consuming the crust created at the Pacific Ocean Ridge, the ravenous Marianas Trench is the world's largest recycling plant. But there was one remaining and major piece of the puzzle to find. Scientists still didn't know why it is the deepest trench on Earth. They suspected the age of the seafloor at the bottom of the trench may provide the answer.
It turns out there's a really strong relationship between the age of the seafloor and its depth in the water.
In 1999, a team of deep-sea drillers returned to the trench to collect core samples.
One great thing about drilling the ocean crust is we actually got pieces of it. So we're holding in our hands here the material that's actually getting subducted at the Marianas Trench, and it turned out to be 170 million years old. So we can say with confidence that's the oldest ocean floor before it's getting swallowed up in the mantle at the trench.
But why is this piece of rock the oldest on the ocean floor?
The seafloor at the Marianas Trench is so old because it's been so long since it was born. So it was born in the equivalent of the Eastern Pacific today, and it's just been going on longer than any other place in the oceans before it's been subducted.
The Pacific Plate is the planet's largest tectonic plate, covering an area 11 times the size of the United States. When crust bubbled up at the ridge 170 million years ago, it was light and buoyant. But as it traveled 10,000 miles across the plate, it cooled and became compact and dense. Over millions of years, the dense crust got heavier and began to sink into the mantle below. Scientists realized that because the crust at the Marianas Trench is the oldest ocean crust, it's also the heaviest and so has sunk deeper into the mantle than any other area of ocean crust. Here at last was the explanation for the trench's extraordinary depth. The picture of the Marianas Trench is almost complete. The investigation into the Marianas Trench has one final puzzle to solve. At the trench's southern end, the seafloor plummets a further 10,000 feet into a 7-mile deep chasm called the Challenger Deep. It's the lowest point on the planet. But so far, scientists have been unable to explain why this one section of the trench is so deep. Now, they believe the shape of the descending tectonic plate may hold the answer.
The Challenger Deep, in addition, is a little bit deeper because of some peculiarities relating to how the slab that's going down is behaving.
A narrow slab of crust has torn away from the Pacific Plate's descending edge.
Well, it's basically got to do with how the slab pushes the mantle out of the way. Where you have a narrow slab, like you have at the Challenger Deep, it can sink almost vertically because the mantle that it's trying to displace can move around out of the way.
Investigators have finally unraveled the mysteries of the Marianas Trench. And in the process, they've made a discovery with implications that stretch far beyond the trench itself.
Travis, you put the team at risk, so...
Allow me to assist. Really?
How do you think the team played today?
Man, we absolutely
formidable.
And it's to the right. My right or your right?
Oh,
that tinfoil's gonna spark. That's why I'm doing it. I had a feeling.
What up, you got it? I'm being detective!
Hey, Travis, something. Here again, State Farm with the assist.
And make the assessment of who he is as a person. And I think this is more indicative of who he is as a person. And I'd like to share with you something else that a lot of people don't realize. A citation, a ticket, is essentially...
Studying the ocean ridges led geologists to believe that magma welling up at the ridges was pushing the plates apart. But the exploration of the Marianas Trench has changed this idea forever.
People used to think that maybe the magma would kind of push the plates apart. That idea is largely discounted now.
As the ocean crust travels from the Pacific Ocean ridge to the trench, it changes from a buoyant, red-hot magma into a colder, denser, and heavier crust. The plate's leading edge becomes so heavy that it drags the rest of the plate along behind it.
The heavy cold plates at the trenches are sinking down into the mantle and pulling the plates apart at the ridges, and the magma just passively fills in the gaps.
The investigation into the Marianas Trench has revolutionized our understanding of how the Earth's plates move. We now know a worldwide network of subduction zones drag tectonic plates around the globe, powering the movement of continents over millions of years, and moving the very Earth we stand on.
The plates that are moving fastest on the Earth are the ones that have all the trenches.
The Pacific Plate is the fastest moving of the 9 major plates on the planet because it is surrounded by dozens of destructive trenches like the Marianas. They are consuming the ocean crust faster than the ocean ridge can produce it. Over millions of years, the Pacific Plate will shrink until sometime in the distant future, the largest ocean on Earth will disappear. Australia will crash into the United States, reshaping our planet. Perhaps one day, downtown Seattle will compete for real estate with a suburb of Sydney, Australia. And all because of subduction zones like the Marianas Trench.
But we are not apologizing for calling for our freedom.
But for all its significance, man has only ever dived to the bottom of the trench once, and there are no immediate plans to return.
Imagine asking someone what is the flora and fauna of California, and say that someone spent 10 minutes there, picked up 2 ants, come back, and said they sampled California. That's probably how well we know the Marianas Trench.
You should be the ones apologizing to the Iranian people.
To date, less than 5% of the world's oceans have been explored. But only by returning to the ocean's very deepest reaches will we fully comprehend the incredible forces that recycle and rebuild our world.
The way I like to think of it is that ocean exploration leads to new research questions. And if we don't have exploration, we don't even know the right questions to ask.
It is now known what a geological wonder the Marianas Trench is. Since this deep chasm in the Earth's crust was first discovered with a length of rope and a lump of lead more than a century ago, evidence has piled up. A record-breaking dive to the lowest point on Earth. Giant undersea mountain ranges with bizarre magnetic zebra stripes. Proof that the ocean crust is spreading towards the hungry Marianas Trench, lined with slippery mud volcanoes which prevent devastating earthquakes, and the planet's oldest ocean crust, the reason that the Marianas Trench is the deepest point in the oceans. In the darkest and most remote place in the world, scientists have added to their knowledge about the powerful forces that contribute to the dynamic story of our planet.
The sentiment is that according to your own values and the values that you want to bring, if you ever were to be the leader of Iran?
Look, when my wife and many other Iranians were marching on the streets of Paris during the protests during the Women Life Freedom Movement, they were heckled by the very same left that you say, by chanting slogans calling for the Shah's death or things of that nature. So nobody should be defending that kind of language coming from whatever side it is. I do not condone it. I do not defend it. I think that's below the standard of pluralism and tolerance. But the real issue is to understand what the Iranian people now are focused on. It's not about the left or the right. It's about liberation versus captivity. It is not about who will win the vote at the end of the day. It's about the fact that we don't have the choice to vote right now under this regime. Let's be focused on what's at stake here. And be careful about the narrative that the regime and its elements keep pushing to try to split the Iranian opposition. A narrative that are carefully engaging in social media, in cyberspace, to provoke tension, to provoke conflict. Many of these accusations comes from fake accounts on Instagram and on X. Yeah. You should know better as journalists. Mm-hmm. So I ask you to be more diligent and dismiss those fake accounts or those fake narratives that is aimed solely as an attempt to
At Darling's Chrysler Dodge Ram in Augusta.
Yeah, it looks like across the board a lot of thumbs up agreeing with what he's saying, and someone made an interesting comment where they said they think they understand where he's coming from when he says death to the left, or whoever said it. They're not trying to get into anyone's head and say what they think for sure, but they're just giving their own perspective as to what they think that means. So they're saying when death to the left, meaning in perspective with the things we've been talking about in the activist groups, when you look at the history, you understand the different supply of chemicals, weaponry, activist groups, all these different things we've been talking about. Yeah, the recent book about bioweapons, infectious disease, Lyme disease, all these things, and development of things. So those activist groups strongly associated to the left that people have been talking about for years, who care about their drugs and dogs more than people, and the dangerous targeting of innocent citizens. Right, and they think the confusion comes because, like a drug dealer, they supply the Catholic Church, right? They get a lot of funding and different stuff through the Catholic Church and the false prophecies and magic shows, or whatever you want to call that. Sales and marketing, charities, fundraising, there's quite a bit. Right, so a lot of the people on the left associated to those things, you almost fail to see the connection because, right, the goons, the Catholic Church, right, they don't really mingle in public, right? You'd almost think they hate each other. Right, when you start getting down into the nitty-gritty in different businesses and communities and church groups and traveling bands or gangs, whatever you want to call them. Marketing groups, yeah. I actually agree with that. That makes a lot of sense. So not death to like people. They don't think he means it in an immoral way against humanity. They think he's coming from a place of caring for humanity, because so many, including myself, if that is what he means, I definitely agree. Death to that, please. A lot of people have been trying to bring awareness to that for years. So when a lot of that funding is intermingled in those loops and groups with the far right, and the Catholic groups and the goons and the spiked events and threats and targeting, it starts to make sense. So yeah, that was really beautifully said. I have no idea who that was. Yeah, oftentimes too, class will listen without knowing who it is. They'll just be listening to a conversation, and sometimes they're surprised that who doesn't know. Cool. No kidding. Yeah, right? Yeah, interesting. I hope I kind of translated that good, or somewhat understandable. Universal layman's terms. All right. Yeah, we're going to do some reading in a little bit. All right. Thank you. You're welcome.
Homes, towns, and forests are swallowed up by scorching hot lava.